Right, it's 9 o'clock.
Are we live?
Are we live?
No, not yet.
Stick it on the computer.
Just let me.
The thing is, we'll be live and we won't know because of the slight delay. So, hi everyone.
It's
It's
not live yet. Anyway, I've just published it, so it'll be live in a second. I'm just finding a shunt.
What's the game like on the Yeti?
Full.
Well, hopefully this time next week it'll be all through these.
Yeah, hopefully. The volume was okay last time. I think we're live now. Hello, people. How we doing?
Hi everyone.
Is the volume okay? There's not much I can do about it if it's not. It's full.
Oh, I was going to say it probably isn't, but that's your podcast mic, not your YouTube mic.
Yeah.
Let's just have a... Oh, yeah, people
watching us on
people
YouTube?
looking and commenting. Yeah, I can see it on YouTube. I can see his head bobbing up and down.
Hello people. Lovely to see you. Well, lovely for you to see us. I can't actually see you.
It's lovely for you to see us.
Oh, first Lee haircut comment of the night.
Yeah, I look fly.
I didn't even say hello to him when he opened the door. I said, "You've had a haircut."
You tried to kiss me.
So you're the one who turned away.
You might need to change the camera angle a little bit. I'm kind of half off screen by the looks of things.
Can do.
Oh. That's far too much, Dan.
Here we go.
I can't see it yet. It's not showing you leaning forward. Oh, I see you just doing the haircut thing now.
This is the delay that we have to deal with, you see. This is why it takes a little while for us to answer your questions or comments when we see them on the YouTube. Excuse me.
This is the delay we have to deal with, you see.
Somebody's just said the main camera needs to be moved towards Paul slightly. Thought so. Right, it should have been done now.
Did we get confirmation that the volume's okay?
Nobody said it isn't, so that'll do.
Good put trust in our viewers and listeners.
Of course.
Of course.
We trust them implicitly. Damn arthritis. Are we there yet?
Yeah, I am looking very snazzy, Gemma. Thank you.
That looks like it's frozen.
I've paused it.
That'll do that.
We good to go?
Yeah, I reckon we are. Don't forget to unpause it so that people actually get to...
And don't forget you need your mic. That's very important.
It is very important.
Do you want to press stop and press start again on the recorder? Because that was... seamless.
That was a podcast style. What's it called? A Patreon style. I've been having such trouble with words today. And now you're going to go and talk to people.
This really doesn't bode well, does it?
No, it doesn't.
I'll just say it quietly.
I'm warm. I'm going to take this off. Hang on.
This isn't a strip show, Lee.
What?
Come on.
It's also turned into my podcast, my live stream thing of having different wrestling t-shirts on.
Yep.
That's the thing I do at work. I've had a different band t-shirt on every day since I started 7 weeks ago. I've actually had to buy some new t-shirts for next week.
I realise I'm very low on actual t-shirts. I should buy some.
I'm a man of few clothes. I'm a man of few clothes.
I'll just keep buying new t-shirts. Right, shall we do this?
Let's do it.
Hi and welcome to this week's 3Legs4Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan, Chris,
Lee.
What did we think of the US Grand Prix then?
It was alright.
It's pretty good.
It's alright.
A lot of overtakes going on right the way through the field.
And some of them we actually got to see on TV for once.
I do like the Circuit of the Americas. It was a lot bumpier though, wasn't it, than it has been previous years?
Yeah, everybody was complaining about the bumps from Friday onwards.
Yeah,
you could see bits where the tarmac had gone.
Yeah.
Apparently they are closing it over the winter to do a complete resurface.
Well, do you remember when they first constructed the Circuit of the Americas, way back when the BBC still had TV rights to Formula One? David Coulthard drove his Red Bull jacked up around the dirt layout of the circuit. You remember that?
I remember that.
And he thought, oh, that seems like a really interesting circuit. And if you're tarmacking it on fairly loose dirt, it will move eventually.
Yeah.
Which apparently is the problem that they're having. And the other problem that they're going to have is how much are MotoGP going to complain when they resurface it, because it won't be right for them. Because they kicked off when it wasn't resurfaced 2 years ago and it was just ground down.
I wonder if that's caused any of the issues. But I mean, that's the circuit management to worry about, I suppose.
I'd wonder whether it's got something to do with the fact it was ground down and then you had all that rain as well. So you have all that rain which soaks into the soil. Then you have Texas heat on top of that, which then makes that where rain trying to escape. That would cause bumps in my physics.
Possibly.
So,
geographical physics expert Lee Stevens.
Yeah, I'm here all week in my professional.
I think that's called geology, isn't it?
Possibly.
In my professional opinion, as a painter and decorator and a semi-professional talker, that's my opinion.
No, you're a rank amateur. No, but I thought it was a decent race, and like you say, Chris, we got to see quite a lot of overtakes.
Yeah.
The field was behind the top four for the majority of the race. It was fairly fluid.
It was, yeah. You really didn't know who was going to be on the strategies to finish, 6th, 7th, all the way down to about 15th, 16th. You had no idea.
All the way down to just in front of the Williams.
Well, where Haas and Williams now sit.
Yeah. What, in the gravel?
Yeah. Or in the garage.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those weekends. We'll start with Williams. Kubica got DNF'd because of a hydraulic problem.
Can I do something purely for the YouTube viewers?
I don't know, can you?
Hydraulic problem.
Yeah.
It's a bit
In
like
inverted
Alonso
commas.
at the end of last
Press
year,
F
isn't it?
for doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering if he'll just walk and we won't see him for the last two races.
He was a pit stop behind George Russell and had made one pit stop less than George Russell.
That's not ideal.
No.
No, I just wonder if we'll see him walk and Williams will borrow Ocon for the last two races.
He got ahead of Russell at the beginning, Robert Kubica.
Yeah.
And we've heard from our listeners that there are a lot of Kubica fans at Circuit of the Americas, which is great for him. But he's not had the comeback season. We always said the Kubica movie stopped when he closed his visor in Australia. That's maybe when Robert Kubica should have stopped.
You did. I said he shouldn't have been on the grid in Australia from the word go.
Only after the race.
The comeback was the story. The racing's not a story. The comeback was the story.
Did he come back? He was given a drive.
Yeah,
There's a difference between a comeback and getting given a drive.
It's not a comeback if you wander around a lap behind your teammate.
Probably not. No. He's had his ass handed to him by Russell.
Like I say, I'm beginning to wonder if we'll actually see him in Brazil.
I think you'll see him finish the season. But if he doesn't, for Williams, if he didn't want to do it, I think it would make more sense for them to stick Latifi in the car for 2 races.
They're not allowed.
Why not?
He won't have the super license points, even though he's guaranteed to get them. But he won't officially be able to drive the Formula One car.
I think he'll be
on a Saturday
You're right.
until
but
after the end
you
of
can
the
get
season.
special dispensation, and if he's going to have the points anyway, I could see him getting special dispensation. He's driven the car in FP1s. It's not like you're trying to throw someone into a car that's never driven one.
No.
That
And in the FP1s that he's done, he's been so much closer
Yeah.
to George than he has, than Robert Kubica has.
that points thing is a grey area in certain cases, and I think it's more there to prevent somebody that shouldn't get into Formula One than it is to prevent someone that will make it into Formula One.
Yeah, I could see them giving special dispensation when he's getting the points anyway.
Yeah,
And he's
There's
likely
no
to get the
question
drive
that he
next
will.
year.
yes, yeah.
It's an administrative thing.
Well, I mean, as things stand at the moment, we've said before, Williams legally can't announce him as a driver until after Abu Dhabi. So what's the betting? It gets officially announced during the post-season test.
Yeah, probably.
I must say though, he's not been as impressive in his FP1 showings as he probably wanted to be, or you'd probably want him to be.
Was he in Mexico? He was, 8/10 off George Russell?
Yeah, he was off Kubica as well this weekend.
Oh, was he? Okay.
No,
I do retract my previous comment then.
Yeah, I didn't see any of Fridays.
Yeah, so I mean I'm sure he ended. I know I watched when it was about half an hour till the end.
He was slower than Kubica's FP2 time, is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Right, got you.
No, because he was in George Russell's car.
Oh, was he? Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
so they were on track at the same time, and
Got you.
Kubica was ahead of him.
So the usual. Oh, they were running different programs.
Different cars. Obviously, Kubica had George Russell's car that time, which is the better of the 2 Williams.
Yeah, however, on Sunday...
He had his own car
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't really say much more than that.
Feel sorry for George, the only driver who was 2 laps down. But then Kubica may have been 3 laps down had he stayed out, and
Yeah, did they bring him in to stop?
Well,
lessen the
Williams
embarrassment?
has slowly been catching up the back of the pack, haven't they? Either that
Or is it the back of the
pack have
the
been
back of the pack have
sliding
been
backwards.
dropping back to them because Haas have been.
Haas are still next, but they were miles down the road from Williams towards the end of the race. And early doors, they were not. Early doors, Russell was ahead of Grosjean for quite a long time.
While K-Mag was running as high as 9th.
Yeah.
And then it shook out and they just both dropped backwards.
It's what happens with Haas, though, isn't it? They push really hard in a race situation. They're okay over single lap pace, but in race situations, they push and then they wear the tyres out and they end up making one extra pit stop and they're all the way at the back again. Or they push and then they've got to manage their tyres again.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to get that car working with that compound.
No.
Or this year's compounds. Thought you were struggling with words tonight, Dan.
Yeah.
They brought a load of parts as well, didn't they? And they
Well,
didn't
they brought
work.
they did a Williams. They brought a new test front wing,
Yeah.
which was only going to be used on Friday, and I don't know what difference that made. Apart
No,
from
they took it off.
it got
Yeah,
packed
yeah.
up and put away, and said we're probably not going to use that again until next season. Now.
They did FP1, I think, with their the last race setup. FP2 was with the new parts, so they could do like a back-to-back with it. And then they decided to revert back to what they already had. And then Grosjean's rear wing had an issue, so they had to then change Grosjean's rear wing to another like past rear wing spec. You know, it was the normal, like when Grosjean explained what had happened to his weekend, he went, well, that's just a normal Haas weekend.
What happened with his crash in practice? Because
No idea.
1 minute he was going in a straight line, and the next minute he's in the
Wind,
wall.
wasn't it?
It was the wind, was
I
it?
think so.
There was a lot of complaints about the wind, certainly on the final corner and the whole pit straight and run up to turn 1, because there was a tailwind and people were struggling to drive round in to get it behind them, and then actually slow down enough to get to the hairpin at the top of the hill.
Magnussen's was weird as well. They had a brake failure in the
Yeah,
race.
you saw it go.
It wasn't just a failure. It really the disc actually exploded.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was very strange at first, but as soon as I saw what happened, I was like, brake failure.
Yeah.
Instant brake failure. Nothing you can do about that either. So
No.
not K-Mag's fault at all. We thought that Haas maybe got owned over their brake issues because Grosjean was very whiny about them, wasn't he, a year or two ago?
Yeah.
This year we haven't.
No,
really
Grosjean was
heard-
very whiny about them for a year or two.
Yes, but we haven't really heard anything this season about Haas having brake issues.
That's because they're not going fast enough to actually overheat the brakes.
Well, clearly it were because Magnus had a failure.
That must have been sort of old damage from when he was running in 9th.
Yeah.
And then slipped that down.
Maybe. They do appear to qualify well and then start the race well, but that's all well and good until lap 13 or 14, and then they
Well,
start.
Magnussen appears to qualify slightly better. Grosjean's just a bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, Grosjean finished the race in 15th, which, ahead of a Toro Rosso and a Williams that finished the race,
Grosjean finished ahead of a Toro Rosso that didn't finish the race.
and George Russell.
Well done. Have a participation.
I still can't understand like the board meeting that was had when someone turned around and was looking at in an X Factor style. I had a picture of Nico Hulkenberg and a picture of Grosjean. I went, we're going with Grosjean.
Yeah.
What? How?
I don't understand it either. As I said, for the early part of the race, when Haas are usually okay, Russell was running behind Kubica, then Russell got ahead of Kubica, then Russell got ahead of Grosjean.
Yeah. Somehow.
And Russell ended up like a lap back from everyone else.
Yeah.
So
Somehow, and I'm not quite sure how, but if they'd have just decided to run Hulkenberg in a singular car next year, they'd have scored more points than having two cars. Convinced of it.
2 Hulkenbergs,
Maybe.
cloning program.
Green Hulk and Grey Hulk.
Yes.
Obscure
Could
Marvel
do.
reference.
Yeah.
Toro Rosso next, and Kvyat getting a second consecutive penalty that dumps him out of the points.
Kvyat finishing 10th, but actually being classified 12th.
Do you know what? A controversial opinion, but what he did to Perez was no worse than what Max Verstappen did to beat Charles Leclerc in.
It was slightly more aggressive.
Not a lot more aggressive, and it was certainly no more aggressive than when Hamilton was defending from Bottas in the same race.
No, that was fine racing.
But that's I kind of feel a bit sorry for Kvyat. It was a bit bargy and stuff like that. But if we're into this thing now, where if it's full wheel contact, you get a warning for it. I feel maybe he should have had the "don't do that again" flag.
Maybe. I don't know that it was. I don't know that it was a passing opportunity unless they made contact. That's what I think.
Maybe
that's what I think the issue was. I don't think he would have got past if they hadn't. If it was clean and then they hadn't made contact, I think Kvyat would have had to back out and Perez would have kept the position anyway.
I've argued that you could argue the same with Leclerc and Verstappen, though, couldn't you?
In Austria, yeah, you could argue it. I think Leclerc still would have been forced wide by Verstappen rather than banging wheels.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
But I think he'd have been forced wide by Verstappen coming in and giving him the option to be forced wide or to have an accident.
Yeah, that's
So but a
grey area, should we say?
Yeah, but I think maybe if we're gonna give drivers this, you can be more aggressive thing. I kind of think that was on the edge again. That maybe it was harsh for him to get the penalty.
I mean, the way that it's being talked about is Kvyat says that he didn't do anything that he thought was illegal. Perez said that
he did.
Basically, yeah, but not actually. The collision wasn't the first illegal thing. Perez seems to think that Kvyat didn't slow down for yellow flags for K-Mag being in the gravel,
Well, that's how he got close enough.
and that's why he got close enough to do it.
Okay, that's a different.
But is that where he got the penalty for?
No, he got the penalty for
He got the
causing a
penalty.
collision.
And he got the penalty for the collision.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think if they're gonna, this is what I mean with consistency, though, isn't it? If neither of them.
He did hit Perez hard enough to bend the suspension, though, which is something that Verstappen didn't do to Leclerc.
So now you're allowed to run into somebody as long as you don't break it.
I think it's more to do with the passing opportunity. I don't think if there was no contact that the passing opportunity would have been on, but that's just personal opinion.
No,
other people will differ.
I totally agree, but my thing's just consistency.
Yeah.
You know, it's if you're gonna let people batter each other off the track a little bit, then
then the stewards should at least be able to say, right, here's your similar incident that didn't get a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why this one's different.
Yeah, Leclerc and Hamilton and Monza, for example.
Yeah, I do think that this whole grey and white flag does give them the get out of jail free card, doesn't it? So look, it was the only thing he'd done wrong all race, so it's the warning flag if he was to do that again.
Do you think it's a penalty because it's Kvyat?
I think it's a mixture because it's Kvyat and because of bent suspension. It's a bit of both, isn't it? Bit of damage and because of who it is.
If it was Gasly on Stroll,
probably not. If it was Stroll on Gasly, probably.
Yeah.
If it was Daniel Ricciardo on somebody, probably not.
No. It's setting a precedent for yourself as well, isn't it? Especially with what happened with Kvyat and Hulkenberg in Mexico.
Yeah.
Which Kvyat says he was the innocent party in all of.
No rubbish.
I feel sorry for Perez though, because he had a cracking race.
Second race in a row, he's done really, really well.
Well, we'll get to that in a bit. Gasly ended up being classified 16th, but finished. I think he finished in the pits, didn't he? They pulled him out and retired the car.
What, a lap before the end?
Yeah.
So that's how he managed to DNF but still finish ahead of George Russell.
Yeah, because he crossed the line and had covered more distance than George Russell had when he crossed the line for the last time.
Okay.
So he was, I think, Gasly was the last of the one lap down runners, so he'd already lapped George Russell.
Yeah.
So that's why he got classified 16th. That was an anonymous race for him really this time.
Yeah.
Gasly was up in the points for a majority of the race. I don't know if it was tyre strategy or maybe it's a problem that pulled them out of the race. But I mean, was it qualifying or was it the practice session? He was very, very close to Alex Albon. He was right behind him, but it was like 500ths of a second or something. He was right behind Alex Albon at the end of the session, which raised a few eyebrows, of course, because of obvious reasons. But come Sunday that's where the points are made.
Yeah.
Sunday is the kingmaker, isn't it? And Gasly.
You can't win a race on Fridays.
No, exactly. You can't win a race on Friday. You can't win a seat on Fridays either.
And I also think it's pretty clear from the start of the season that Gasly wasn't very good in the Red Bull.
Yeah.
I think, despite what happened at the end of this race, he is good in a Toro Rosso.
Yeah. He was having a good race.
Yeah.
I don't know why he slipped backwards, and then obviously he was pulled in just before the end of the race.
Do you think it's interesting he hasn't been confirmed yet?
What, Toro Rosso?
Nobody's been confirmed for anything apart from the fact that they will all. The 4 drivers that are currently in the 2 Red Bull teams will be the 4 drivers in the 2 Red Bull teams next year.
Don't worry. When we get to the next Red Bull team, I'm going to ask the same question for a different reason.
Yeah, Verstappen's confirmed for next year, though, isn't he?
Yeah, yes. He is the only one of the 4 where we know where they'll be driving.
Danny Kvyat's confirmed for Toro Rosso.
No, he will be staying in the Red Bull organisation in one of the cars.
I thought it was Toro Rosso, but
he's not. It's not been confirmed to Toro Rosso yet. I don't
Christian Horner said so, but Christian Horner has absolutely no say about who drives what.
No.
Anyway, that's Toro Rosso's race. Quite disappointing. Nul point.
Alfa Romeo next. Giovinazzi 14th, Kimi 11th. Kimi was looking strong earlier on.
Good for
a great start.
Drive of the day.
A great start, and unfortunate just to miss out on the points, given that he won the race last year in his Ferrari.
Yeah.
Alfa have been slipping backwards a little bit over recent races, and we've not really produced the form that we wanted to see from them. But Kimi Räikkönen clearly likes Circuit of the Americas. He did quite well again. Again, just missing out on a point because of the wonderful drive that Sergio Perez put in.
Here though, how the fuck is Giovinazzi still in the hunt for that seat?
He's not in the hunt for that seat. He's got that seat.
Oh, is he staying? Is that
that's been confirmed today.
Oh, I didn't realise. Oh, was that just today? Was it confirmed?
Yeah. Hashtag Monday News.
He's rubbish.
He's not as good as Räikkönen.
He's not as good as Räikkönen, and that's a Räikkönen that, like, up until he had a win last year and stuff like that, we were saying probably shouldn't still be in Formula 1 at times.
He's improved over the last couple of races. He's out-qualified Kimi Räikkönen, and
but look at him during the races.
Yeah, well, during the races he's doing a little bit better. It's just taking him a while to.
Is he doing well enough to stay in?
I don't think they've got anyone
that's
else.
Hulk fucked out there, isn't it?
Well, I don't think they've got anybody else to plug in.
Well, Ferrari own that seat.
Yeah,
that's Ferrari haven't got anybody else to put there.
No, I realise that, but for a team, if I don't, Giovinazzi is never going to be a Ferrari driver ever. Getting back together with Ferrari.
Oh, I thought you were going down the outcast route on that one.
And so what? Like, what's the point? What's the point in it? And I still think that if they plugged
because he's keeping the seat warm for Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, but if they plugged,
unless Mick Schumacher turns out to be more like his uncle than his dad.
If they plugged Hulk into that seat and Räikkönen retires at the end of next year, they've still got an experienced Formula 1 driver in the team.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah. It would probably make more sense.
No sense whatsoever.
But it's because Ferrari own that seat.
They're going to with no experienced driver, Mick Schumacher and Roman fucking Grosjean.
Who's to say Hulk won't be in Kimi's seat in 2 years' time?
I don't think Hulkenberg is a good enough driver to leave Formula 1 and come back.
Yeah, I hate to say it, I agree with Lee there. When Hulk goes, he's gone. I think he should be staying around for a little bit longer. But
I think he should be. I think he should have been given an opportunity in a top level car, but it's not worked out. I think he was one of my favourites to replace Rosberg when he retired a few years ago. I thought Nico Hulkenberg's a good shout if Mercedes can get him, but he wasn't even considered apparently.
No, Nick Hyde felt time.
Yeah, and it's sad for Hulkenberg because he's a nice guy and comes across as a nice guy and he's a pretty good driver.
And will probably win Formula E.
Probably will, yeah. Probably be a multiple-time Formula E champion.
He said he's not going to Formula E or IndyCar. There's stories that he's looking at DTM for next year.
Along with another driver who we've often referred to as the English Nico Hulkenberg. Other way around. We call Nico Hulkenberg the German Jensen Button. But Jensen Button is apparently looking at DTM as well. But that's a bit more of a news story than looking at the race review. But having left Super GT, they did a Super GT DTM crossover race at Hockenheim, and apparently that's that seems like Jensen's thing. He wants to give it a go. Whether he finds a seat or not, don't know. I would imagine it wouldn't be too difficult for him to find a seat.
So
He could turn up at any team and say, "Can I have a drive?" Like, yes.
Do Honda have an entry in DTM?
Not yet.
No.
Well, there you go.
I wouldn't be surprised though, because they had that mixed race, didn't they, with the two?
That's what I mean. Yeah, they had the crossover race. Super GT did DTM.
That wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if something like that was to happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on. Racing Point.
Isn't it funny how it's handy like staying friends with Honda? Are you listening, Fernando?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hey, you might still get to drive the McLaren at Indy next year. Sorry, a McIndy at Indy.
No.
Yes.
No.
The people have spoken.
It's not a
They
fucking
can speak
burger.
all they want. This is not a democracy.
You lost. Get over it.
Don't we act at another vote now?
No, we have to wait for a general election.
Right. Okay.
We'll do a general vote on what we should call everyone.
Anyway, Racing Point.
Racing Point. Perez, great drive. Pit
Possible
lane to
driver of the
10th.
day.
Yeah. Possibly he was a contention in the blog room, wasn't he, for driver?
Yeah,
of the day?
he was one of the ones that definitely got talked about.
So Perez was a strong possible. As you say, pit lane to 10th is a great drive
Yeah,
for Sergio Perez
absolutely.
in a car that's not. It's lacking a little bit in what you'd expect, really. From,
Even from a Racing Point,
yeah,
it's lacking.
from a racing point. 10th is great. He did amazingly to finish 7th in Mexico. Really good drive to finish 10th in Austin. Stroll did okay
Also
as
took
well.
part in the Grand Prix.
Stroll he did okay. He finished 13th.
Got through to Q2.
For the first time in like.
Admittedly,
But
there was
is that okay when your teammate's running like what 8th?
Perez finished 10th. The Stroll finished 13th.
Yeah, but that was after he battered off the circuit.
No. He was finished 10th with the.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like he got battered off the circuit, dropped back, penalties, pushed him back into the points.
No, he was in 10th when he got battered off the circuit.
Oh
and
right,
finished
higher
10th.
up. But he was racing through that race and sort of.
Yeah, he was doing overtakes.
Yeah, to me that when you see Racing Point getting better and Perez getting putting better and better results in, Stroll seems to stay in the same place.
Yeah, I mean 13th isn't a terrible form.
Yeah, I think Stroll's been a couple of places behind Perez for most of the season, but last year it would have been Perez Ocon or Ocon Perez,
Yeah.
or DNF.
Yes.
Yeah,
And the year before it would have been Hulkenberg Perez.
but when you look at the drivers that finish behind Stroll, it doesn't show him in a great light, really. I mean, you got Giovinazzi in an Alfa that's looking backwards.
Yeah.
We've already spoken about him. Grosjean, Gasly who retired, and Russell.
Yeah.
So, out of them,
It's not ideal.
no, but I mean, it's not where Racing Point want to be, and they'll hope to be further up the grid next season. But then
Lance Stroll is still the weakest point in that team.
Yeah, I don't think Lance Stroll will go much further up the grid. He constantly seems to be half a second off what the car's capable of doing.
Yeah.
I can't find the tweet, but somebody sent us a message saying me and some friends have been wandering around Circuit of the Americas all weekend looking for anyone in Stroll merch. Not found any yet, and that was by Sunday.
Well, it's impressive that no Canadians went to the Circuit of the Americas. I know it's a long, long way. I know, but I mean, it's within a flight. Americans go to Montreal to watch the Grand Prix.
Yeah, but they haven't got a driver.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And all the stuff about Haas being the home team. A lot of tweets from American listeners saying that they are not our team.
Which
Hashtag not my Formula One team.
yeah, which is surprising. I mean, they do run the American flag in monochrome on the side of their car, but
They run it at all the other circuits as well.
Yeah, which is a bit dystopian.
What?
that was terrible.
I know.
It's a shame. It's like I'm not going to go on about it because we say it quite a lot. But when we thought we were getting an American team, we kind of thought we'd get some of that sort of American like zing.
Fuck yeah.
Along
Well,
with
a couple of years ago at Circuit of the Americas when they did the intros,
Yeah.
I loved that. That was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I
For,
like
for that one race.
No Stetsons. Bring the fucking Stetsons
Yeah, bring the Stetsons
back.
back. Bring the Cossack hats in Russia and the sombreros in Mexico.
Wait.
Cultural appropriation can get stuffed for 20 minutes. It's
Yeah.
fine.
No, we had the hashtag a bit back, didn't we? You know, more local hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, bowler hats at Silverstone.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Why not? It would work. It would be a really good thing to do rather than just boring caps every single time. But yeah.
Oh, and what was going on with the guy singing the anthem?
Loads
Loads
was going on.
That was a
Right.
performance.
I wasn't watching at this
who
point.
was it?
No idea.
What happened?
There was a guy
man?
and two backing singers doing an a cappella version that could only have been described as sort of kind of jazz, but not quite.
Has anybody jumped on the comments and said, I can't believe you
don't know,
didn't
I
know who
can't
that
see.
was?
But Mr. Guest 5 tweeted while this was going on, saying, "What the fuck is this?" To which I replied, "That's motherfucking national pride, soldier."
Yeah. So McLaren.
Good
Pretty-
race. Pretty good race.
I mean, Lando fastest in Q1.
Yeah.
All right, shenanigans.
Yeah, but regardless,
Still, the only person that was it Sean that tweeted the only person that's top of the time sheet like a qualifying
Like a
Qualifying,
qualifying or a
yeah.
practice session this year that isn't one of the big three teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, that's impressive for a start.
And he was third in FP3 as well, wasn't he? Yeah, it was looking really good.
Was there not a practice session where? Oh no, I think Vettel was fastest in the practice session in I want to say Canada, and Norris and Sainz were second and third.
Possibly.
But yeah,
There was shenanigans there
Yeah,
as
there was
well.
shenanigans there as well. Yeah, but yeah, Lando Norris had a good race and he had some good luck coming his way. Carlos Sainz, if there is one driver to get bad luck, that it was his turn. He didn't really do anything wrong at turn one. He was trying to follow Lewis Hamilton, and along came Albon in a Red Bull, who again didn't really do anything wrong, just kind of understeered a little bit into Carlos.
He didn't
Sainz.
get a penalty for that, did he?
Albon, no, there was no.
Very, very similar to what Daniel Kvyat did.
No,
it was
no,
first
it
one.
wasn't.
Of course
It wasn't.
It was the same incident.
It wasn't.
Wasn't
Of
he?
course it was.
Albon got understeer on the corner and just sort of drifted wide into him.
Albon went in too hot and clouted
It
him.
was on the exit of the corner, not the entrance.
Yeah, but he came in too hot and clouted him on the exit.
No, he
Same
understeered
thing.
into him.
You could see it on the replay from
first lap-
behind.
And first lap incidents are always given a bit more.
Oh yeah,
leeway
no,
anyway,
but I'm
so.
just saying he did almost the same thing. Didn't get a penalty.
It might have been almost the same thing, but on the first lap, you got all the cars bunched up together. You don't have the choice to back off almost. If you back
It's
off,
more
then you
dangerous
get
to
hit
back.
from behind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more dangerous
I
to back
I
off in some
think
cases.
I think Albon was too hot going into the first corner and had an accident and wrecked somebody else's race.
Well, he didn't really wreck Sainz's race. Sainz thought that seventh was probably the best he could do, and he's quite happy for Lando to be seventh.
What Albon did do in my house was give himself the opportunity to be what was my driver of the day.
Yeah, great. It was a mistake. It wasn't obviously
Yeah.
clearly not intentional, but pitting at the end of lap one and then doing, was it 3 pit stops or 4?
Yeah,
Many.
Yeah, and still finishing, where Albon finishes is great, but Sainz, appeared to escape without damage. Did ruin the first part of his race a little bit, but 7th and 8th, a double points finish from McLaren is pretty good.
Yeah, but this is what I was going to say to you before. I still find it nuts that he hasn't been confirmed for Red Bull next year.
What, that Albon's not
Yes.
confirmed? I think that drive probably did it for him.
I think he's already put drives in that should have done it for him.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder whether there's still like fuel to the fire of Vettel going back to Red Bull next year.
Maybe. It's just I don't think anybody's going to announce anybody. don't think we're going to get any more driver announcements from now until after the end of the season.
But I don't. If let's just say Red Bull are let's say everybody that's in Red Bull at the minute, both teams are going to end up in the cars next year. Chances are they're going to stay in the seats they're in. I don't see why you would drag it out.
But at the same point, why announce anything?
Because I think it helps the driver, it helps stability within the team.
No, they don't like stability within the team. The driver is merely ballast.
Oh yeah, but I mean, there's to a certain extent, but I think for who's there right now, Albon is putting some great drives in. I think it would only cement him and make him do better if he wasn't worried about losing his seat.
And on the other hand, you could say that they're keeping him on his toes by not announcing him until after the season.
And keeping Gasly and Kvyat motivated.
We've got 2 races. Yeah, I mean, Danny Kvyat knows he's not getting back in a Red Bull. I would imagine Gasly knows he's not going to get back in a Red Bull as well.
Yeah, but to keep him motivated, get him as many points as possible. It's
fucking strange that they're not. If everything is in house and they've got all this in order and everybody's gonna find a seat somewhere within the Red Bull program, it's odd they're not confirming it, especially Albon, because he has done enough.
Who would have thought Red Bull not giving a toss about how their drivers feel?
Yeah. I think it's because it's not just in house. I think there is there's a rogue body that's floating around that might fall into one of those seats. So if that's the case, they've already said Kvyat's going to stay within the family. So let's say that Kvyat's probably going to be in Toro Rosso next year. So the reason they wouldn't confirm Albon for Red Bull is if Vettel might get that seat, and if he does get that seat, Albon will go back down to Red Bull by Gasly.
I reckon it's just that Dietrich Mateschitz hasn't had time to roll his driver dice yet.
Maybe either that or the pen's in front of him to sign. He keeps trying to pick it up and he keeps putting his hands all around it.
He's the one with 2 eyes. It's helmet marker.
One eye's looking for the pen, the other one's looking where it's been.
You're confusing Dietrich Mateschitz and helmet marker.
That I am. Yes, yeah. I am. Good.
Yeah, he can't see the right one in front of him.
No.
But I think there's something strange, and I do think there's still something to the idea of Vettel going to Red Bull next year.
Maybe. I think it's becoming less and less likely. I think if Vettel is to go anywhere, I think he'll retire.
I don't think he'll retire because I don't think he wants to retire. I think you listen to him, he still talks about enjoying driving the car. He still looks motivated.
Yeah.
Especially over the last couple of races. Or the only thing I would say is if he will need to shake himself off and really get...
We were talking about McLaren. How did we get on this far?
We
talked about Red Bull and Ferrari. We totally skipped Renault.
We have. But I don't know.
Someone mentioned Albon.
Sorry, yeah. I think we talk about Red Bull. Carry on.
Yeah, no, it's alright.
That's very nice of you.
I was going to say it was a good double points finish for McLaren, especially in their battle against Renault, who are the next team to talk about.
Yeah.
Even though they were beaten by a Renault driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Danny Rick was on it all weekend.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And like you say, a really good performance. I mean, he put in quite a good performance in...
I think strategy helped as well, didn't it?
Yeah, he put in quite a good performance in Mexico, but the...
And starting Hulk on the hard tyres and going for a 97,000 lap first stint.
Paid off eventually by getting Hulk in the points as well. Double points finish for Renault. I mean, they'd take that, if you'd offer that to them before the weekend, they'd probably snapped your arm off.
Yeah.
But little did they know that they would sandwich the McLarens. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
better from Renault, but still not quite what we expected.
Ricciardo looked more honey badger like this weekend, although technically he was a longhorn.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Longhorn energy rather than big dick energy.
Although also worst part of television over the weekend was involving Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh yeah, that's possibly the worst television that's been on the Formula One channel all year.
Ever.
It's right up there.
Ever.
No, Johnny Herbert playing golf in the paddock on Saturday after qualifying is...
No, that's again. I watched that 10 times before I watched what happened with Daniel Ricciardo and Craig Slater.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything that wasn't the race this weekend, so
keep it that way.
What happened?
No, keep yourself pure, Dan.
how do you explain?
They went for a drive together.
Daniel Ricciardo drove Craig Slater around.
Yeah,
Craig Slater decided he was cool, which wasn't the case.
And for some reason, that Craig Slater had a playlist on his phone. So, like, when they started talking about Max Verstappen, he started playing like the Mad Max, like Tina Turner in the car. And then you think, well, that could be, by some people, seen as funny. Then you realise, oh, right, he's not going to stop playing this. And there's just going to be a really awkward volume of music behind two people trying to talk inside a car. It was just horrible. It was a horrible thing.
Then he
to
showed
witness.
how much he knew about a certain country song by actually singing the whole fucking thing.
Yes, yeah.
Whilst Daniel Ricciardo just sat there and smiled.
Oh, and
politely.
playing Sexy Boy and talking about Ocon.
Yes.
Yeah, Ocon's the sexy boy of F1, to which Daniel Ricciardo replied, is he?
He's certainly the thinnest.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that was it was painful to watch.
If you didn't see that because you were in the United States and you got US coverage, then
Well
you
done.
you are
You
lucky. Yeah.
No, I've seen people from the US commenting on it, and I think
They saw it.
They saw it, and I think they are now as permanently scarred as
I
we
think
are.
I'd rather cry chili sauce than watch that again.
We're back to last week's Patreon again, aren't we?
We are.
But yeah, much improvement from Renault based on the early season form or lack thereof. The car's sticking together a lot better now.
I think it was just a really good drive from Ricciardo.
Hulkenberg finished ninth as well.
Yeah, no, he had a good drive, but I think the McLaren was a better car than the Renault. I think Ricciardo beat the McLarens.
Yeah, Ricciardo did the job rather than because for a while Norris was ahead of Ricciardo and it was a genuine pass on track by Ricciardo to gain the position and essentially finish best of the rest, which is a great result for Ricciardo and for Renault.
Yeah,
it's kind of where he's used to being in. Well, his old team next. Sorry, you've done an arrow
because
switcheroo.
I did his old team next, and then I thought, well, hang on a second,
Ferrari
that's not right.
Ferrari did only get one finisher. We'll do that.
They got one finisher who was miles off the pace of anywhere near fast enough to win the race.
That is strange because Ferrari have been fast, and we're expecting a lot more this weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ferrari.
yeah.
The faces change, but things stay the same.
Well, the faces don't change because it was Binotto's birthday on Saturday, and everybody turned up to the party wearing Binotto glasses.
Jeff Sharp messaged me during the race saying, "Isn't it strange that at the slightest sniff of some sort of FIA investigation into how Ferrari have found some time, they've lost time."
Yeah.
I think Max Verstappen said something similar.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, is that some like? Is that what happens when you stop cheating? Did he actually say that? I saw that comment banded around a bit. I thought someone was joking.
I don't think they were his exact words, but I think it was along those lines.
Interesting.
What happened was Red Bull put an inquiry into the FIA about just a theoretical tampering with the fuel flow.
Yeah.
And would this be legal if this was to happen?
It's about oil, isn't it? But it's about them dumping oil into the fuel mixture, into the combustion.
Well,
to
that's
give
what
it a bit
Mercedes were being accused of a couple of years
that's-
ago.
That's what they accused Ferrari of as well, because it was Mark Priestley was doing it on his YouTube channel, was explaining what the iffy thing might be with that car.
Okay. Well, you'll always burn a little bit of oil in fuel, but
Yeah, but if you're purposely doing it,
No, this was all to do with the fuel flow rates, not putting oil in the fuel flow. Leclerc started it. Verstappen started it by not saying cheating. It was getting round the regulations. Yeah, find a loophole in F1. Somebody will fly through it. So Red Bull put this inquiry into the FIA saying, just in theory, if this was to happen, would the car that it was happening on be found illegal?
what if it was red?
You mean bull? No, the other animal.
Nobody mentioned anything about flexing.
Yes.
But then, of course, the FIA said, yes, this would be illegal if anyone were to do that. And all of a sudden, Ferrari are about a second and a half a lap slower.
Interesting.
Not that much.
No.
They struggled to get the tyres to warm up
which has
first
been a
thing.
Ferrari trait.
Yeah, well, they were on the mediums, weren't they?
Yeah.
But everybody around them were on the mediums, and
Mhm.
they came off worse.
Yeah.
Far worse.
Well, by the time Vettel got into about turn 2 or 3, everybody around him was on softs because he dropped back that far.
No, yeah, I think Hamilton passed him into turn 6 or 7, something like that, around the outside, which is a crazy pass.
Well, what I thought was really weird was Vettel and Leclerc hit each other. They did hit each other when they came round because there was a bit.
There was just a little tap, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
yeah. And but when Vettel radioed in, said, I don't know if I hit anyone or anything. I found it really weird that.
Or you think it was like school, like, oh, I don't know if I hit anyone, I
Yeah.
might have done.
No, but
maybe have a look.
I think it was Leclerc that hit Vettel.
Right.
If it was anyone, so I was surprised that he didn't jump on that. But yeah, we didn't see another replay of it either, which I found weird.
Yeah. But the
Well, Vettel went backwards at the start. The tyres just
Massively.
didn't
yeah.
happen.
Tyres didn't kick in, and he was complaining about understeer. And no one on TV asked this question, but I wonder if there was an issue with the suspension from the start, and that's why he was understeering.
or did the understeer cause him to run wide a lot over the dangerous curbs and broke his suspension?
But as Vettel said, they'd been running around that, and like no other car had an issue with that. And they'd also been running through practice and stuff like that with the car. I find it odd that he seemed to hit Leclerc, or Leclerc seemed to hit him, or they seemed to hit each other, and then he had a suspension failure, and nobody talked about it.
Yeah, I don't know that it was on the other side of the car anyway, wasn't it? His
It was the right rear that failed because the front
Leclerc hit Vettel's left side.
No, he'd hit the right, wouldn't he? Because he was coming from the inside, and Vettel would have been on the outside, so it would have been.
No, yes,
Oh, it would have been the left.
He
No,
hit
yeah.
Vettel's,
Yeah,
he
it
hit
would have been the
Vettel's left, and it was his right that went.
But if you've weakened the suspension, it's just because the
Yeah.
left's gone. It doesn't mean.
Or as
that
Dan said, it
wasn't
could have
damaged.
been a failure that was starting to happen from the beginning of the
Scary
race.
one, yeah.
Under some heavy braking, maybe into turn 1 or something like that. That just sort of unloaded the suspension just a little bit too much, which damaged it. Remember,
Imagine that happened to you on Eau Rouge.
Was it Lando in Canada where his brakes just failed?
Yes.
It just happened.
Yeah.
It was a failure that was probably going to happen. At any point, but it happened early race because something went. It happens. In
Remember
Formula
2
One cars.
wheels exploding off a Toro Rosso.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wheels exploding on Toro. So
I
that
think-
was Danny Kvyat.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, isn't it? We're so used to seeing Formula One cars finish races and not have like technical failures now. That when one does happen, it's like, what the fuck's happened here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
what caused that? And they're running these things right at the edge of their tolerance.
Yeah.
I mean, Magnussen had a brake failure late on in the race. If you're going to have a brake failure, you would expect it to be later on in the race.
Yeah.
I mean, it can happen at any point. It can happen at any. Failures just happen.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Though. As I said, there are many permutations as to how it could have happened. Did Vettel have understeer, which is forcing him wide over the curbs? Was it an issue before the beginning of the race?
Is it a bit of both?
Is it a bit of both? Yeah. Was it damaged before the race? Was it damaged in qualifying or something like that? When he was pushing really hard to get, because he got quite a good lap in qualifying. Did he maybe damage it right at the end of qualifying somehow? We're not sure, but I'm sure Ferrari will find out. I found it interesting that the cameraman got a good close up of the Ferrari suspension when it was broken. Because usually when those cars come back on trucks, unless they're totally.
Well, they've usually got top hole and haven't they, or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but no, he was just like, I'm zooming right in on that.
Yeah.
And you could see it was very much broken. You could see on the car it was broken.
Yeah.
But that moves on to Leclerc's lack of anything really.
Well, you got past Vettel at the start, along with everyone else.
I was going to say that's woo.
Yeah.
So did a lot of people.
So he was like, yes, I'm fourth, and then that was literally it for Leclerc. He was fast enough to stay ahead of everyone else. I think if Albon had not had that little knock at the beginning and had to pit at the end of lap 1, I think Albon probably would have hassled and passed Leclerc.
Yeah, I think it would have easily hassled and got past him.
Yeah. So fourth is kind of weirdly a saving grace for Ferrari.
It's just weird where the pace went. There was just no pace for them.
Yeah, I mean, they looked kind of on it in Mexico, which I thought that they weren't going to be at all. kind of on it in Mexico. They've been really strong in the second half of the season. Get to America and all of a sudden, nothing.
The other thing there is that you've got such, like, not the longest straights we have in Formula One, but there's some pretty hefty straights.
Yeah.
You need a good lump in your engine. You're pushing up that hill, that big long back straight. And we've seen in any of the races this year since the summer break that have had those type of features, like Ferrari being unstoppable in qualifying, and even that wasn't there.
Yeah.
But there's also the twisty corners, and
Yeah,
you've got
there's
to
the
come out
twisty
of the
corners
corners well
bit,
to
yeah.
get
the drive down.
to get the drive.
And it's bumpy. I don't wonder if that's perhaps an
Bump-
issue that is.
Bumpy would make a lot of sense because they've had so much trouble with the tyres having a really narrow window.
Yeah.
And if they can't run cleanly to get the heat into the tyres because of the bumps, then perhaps that's just scuppered them completely.
Maybe. Definitely a possibility.
Nobody's blamed the sausage curb or the horizontal sausage curb that got put on the apex of turn 8 to keep everybody in line.
He missed it.
Yeah, and
He missed
apparently
it
it was tiny. It looked more.
It looked big on the photo that the
Yeah.
FIA put out.
Yeah,
And
but I think
when
Mark
they did
Brundle commented on it. He said like it's basically nothing there. It's
when they did the replay of Vettel
So
on
painted,
board.
please don't drive over this on the road.
it's more of a marker than an actual sausage curb.
Yeah, when they did the Vettel on board for when you saw his suspension braking, he was nowhere near that sausage curb on turn before that. Then as he turned left, he ran a bit wide.
Yeah.
Onto the bumpy bit of the curb on the outside of must have been turn 9.
Which it had already gone by then.
Well, that's when it went bang as soon as he was on the crest of that hill there.
What Vettel did manage to point out to us is the fact that Valtteri Bottas doesn't know what a fist bump is.
That was funny.
Yes.
Yeah, that was funny. No,
I think what we need to do here is ask our Finnish correspondent, Sanserio Nasty, do you fist bump in Finland?
clearly not.
Maybe it's one of those weird things.
Do you know what?
Like
I know
when
what it
you
is.
do thumbs up in certain countries and it's like a real insult.
Yeah.
And he went like that, and Bottas thought, "What the fuck are you
No,
talking
I
about?"
know what it is. Bottas went to do a fist bump a few races ago, didn't he? And he spilled coffee on him.
He did. He's got a phobia. He has a phobia of fist bumps.
So now he's scared of fist bumps
Yeah.
in case something hot hits his hand. He thought it was a trick, maybe.
A rational fist bump fear.
Absolutely.
My new hardcore band.
Never gets old, does it?
No.
Never gets old.
Really doesn't. Right, Red Bull.
Fist bump phobia.
Red Bull. Max having a pretty lonely race in third for the most part.
He kept pace with the Mercedes, especially
Oh,
towards the end.
he kept pace, but he was kind of, the gap was stable pretty much all the way through.
Yeah, but if Red Bull were there at the start of the year, we'd be really excited about how good they were looking.
Yeah.
They were quite off the pace, weren't they, early doors? But this is good. This is strong from Red Bull.
Yeah. I still don't believe they're going to get any further up towards Mercedes
For the rest of the season.
No, even into next year.
Possibly, but I know it's not time for a Brazilian Grand Prix preview, but I think they're going to be really strong in Brazil.
Should be. It tends to be a track Red Bull go well at.
Yeah.
But I was a bit disappointed, to be perfectly honest. When you looked at where Max was in qualifying, it looked like he could, he was on for pole for a certain amount of time.
Did have floor damage from fairly early on, which didn't help.
Verstappen did.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
What from?
I was really hoping you wouldn't say that because I've gone on to a different...
From his floor.
Right, okay. The floor damage was from the damage to his floor.
Yeah, there was some damage in
the floor area.
Yeah.
Maybe
the carbon fibre, I think.
Right.
Maybe around the lower part of the car.
It just says early in the race.
Right, bullshit.
The team isn't sure what caused it.
Yeah, it sounds like we didn't have any pace. So
I don't think anyone.
No. The camera.
Definite.
Yeah, it was. They showed it after the race.
Right.
He did have a cracked front end plate, and of course they had to change the
front wing.
They had to change the rear wing before the race.
And front wing wasn't a big crack in the front wing.
Yeah,
that was during the race, but before the race it was the rear end plate that had
They
gone.
had to replace the rear end plate,
Okay.
Because the whole back of the car was off on the grid.
I wonder if he had a run off on the outlap or something like that. When they were doing shakedown.
He damaged the front wing on the first turn when him and Bottas touched.
Right. Okay.
And there was some
This
rear
makes
there was
more
some rear
sense.
floor damage, which may have been that, or might have been running wide at turn 1,
Yeah.
because I do remember him doing. And according to Christian Horner, there's a big hole in the floor that's missing. Does that mean there's a big hole missing, or there's
So
a
that
big
means
hole?
there's no floor damage.
No, we're
It
expecting
should be a big hole, but it's missing. We filled it in with carbon fibre.
We've lost the hole.
Where did you put that hole? It's gone. Brilliant.
So yeah, that would probably explain why he wasn't gaining, but he had a slow Ferrari behind him, which explains why he wasn't losing.
Yeah.
But Albon came through the field 3 times.
After his slight unfortunate spill, as we said in turn 1, not intentional, slid wide because of cold tyres and probably lack of downforce as well coming out of turn 1. But I'm glad I didn't finish his All Sciences race, and he had a really good chance of producing one of those excellent comeback drives. And in the blog room, I think I said he was potential for driver of the day as well.
Yeah.
Despite the fact he did twat somebody right at the beginning of the race.
The thing is, though, and it's like when Verstappen started in the pit lane earlier in the season, he said, well, all things being equal, I'm still going to finish 6th.
Yeah.
And he did.
And he did.
Yeah.
So, 5th is where you would expect a Red Bull to finish that's got to come through the field, because there's still that much of a gap between them and everybody else that they're able to do it.
Yeah.
But once you have with damaging your car as well and coming through, I thought it was a really good drive. I still stand by the idea that if he gets his feet under the table at Red Bull, he can hassle Max Verstappen.
I'm not taking anything away from what he did, and to add to it, I'm saying I don't think Gasly would have finished 5th.
Oh God, no.
Gasly might not have got into the points.
He might not have finished if he was trying to overtake people. I thought it was a really good drive. He was my driver of the day, I think.
Alex Albon.
Who,
Yeah.
Gasly?
No. The only reason he wouldn't be my driver of the day is because it was his fault that he had to become my driver of the day.
It's always, if someone's had a crash that's put them to the back and then done a great drive to recover from that, does that really count as driver of the day?
Oh, if somebody else crashes into them and they recover, yes.
This is why I'm saying Perez is mine, because he started at the back through no driving fault of his own without a damaged car, just not going onto the weighbridge because he missed it, the team missed it, and everybody got a little bit crap during FP2, which apparently that rule's being looked at and changed for next season. But he came through the field and got himself up into the points in not the 5th fastest car on the grid.
I think it's unfair to overlook Bottas as well.
For a driver of the day.
For just driver of the weekend, he was on it. He looked to have the legs on Lewis Hamilton, like from the word go.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be missed.
Past Lewis Hamilton.
It almost always is for driver of the day. The guy who's done the fastest lap, qualified first, and then driven from first to finish in first. They never get a look in for driver of the day, do they?
No, it's always the guy who makes a terrible mistake at the beginning and then ends up 7th.
Yeah.
Or, something like that. Like Albon, when ending up 5th.
But anyway, on to Mercedes.
Yeah, it was...
but you know what? Valtteri Bottas has been my driver of the season. He deserves championship.
Valtteri Bottas passed Lewis Hamilton twice in a race on a circuit where Lewis Hamilton usually bosses everybody else around. And Lewis Hamilton totally destroyed his qualifying by having, he said, one of the worst qualifying sessions he's had in recent memory. He said that in another one, didn't he, earlier on this year?
Yeah, but he didn't look on it at all. Even through practice and stuff like that, he was complaining about not being happy with the car. He was like, it's
fastest in FP2.
But even when he was fastest, he didn't look comfortable.
No, he wasn't. He didn't sound comfortable. He didn't sound confident. So just to force his way past the Ferraris and then having that strategy, which was a bit of a gamble, but kind of paid off in the team getting a 1-2. Really worked for Lewis Hamilton and for Mercedes. I liked the racing between Hamilton and Bottas. Thought it was fair.
Yeah, I did.
Didn't think there was anything. There wasn't malicious. It was rivalry, but it was respect as well.
Yeah.
Bottas knew that if he went down the outside of Lewis Hamilton on a corner where he could force him wide, he was going to get forced wide.
Yeah.
And he bided his time and came back, and essentially a faultless weekend for Valtteri Bottas.
I felt
it was,
sorry
and it was
for him.
I was going to say it was good to see Hamilton racing to win as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He really
Yeah.
wanted to win the race, despite what the other stuff that was going on.
But did no one else feel sorry? I know you didn't see any of the coverage apart from the race. But how sick must have Valtteri Bottas been by the end of Sunday by people turning around and go, well done, you won the race. So what about Lewis Hamilton's achievement?
Yeah.
Yeah, launching that new range of clothes this week. Because that snood that he was wearing, that's not even available on his website, on his or the Tommy Hilfiger website yet.
I haven't seen the snood.
It's
all a limited edition cap,
I saw
white
the-
camo.
I quite liked that.
It's a big. Sorry, it's not a snood. It's a neck warmer, according to the official site. It's some big chunky woolen knitting thing that says "blessed."
Does it say blessed on it?
Yes.
Jesus.
Blessed is more.
Well, all the other snoods on his site are called neck warmers, so I'm only going on that.
We've probably got to talk about Lewis's other achievement.
He's going to bring out a new range of baking accessories. All of them have, and still we rise on them.
Yes. I like how you cracked down. I like that. That's very good. Very good. Now I'm gonna have to say it, aren't I?
Why? What else did he do?
He might have won a world championship.
Those caps were apparently $100. Someone's just said.
Well, there's camo caps.
Yes.
Get lost.
Well, they weren't. They're camouflage.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Why would you want to spend $100 on a hat when you put it down? You can't see it again. You'd have to wear it constantly.
Yeah, it'd be like one of those magic capes that Harry Potter had.
Yeah, it would be. Totally.
Talking of which, has anyone seen my chameleon? I left him somewhere.
Oh dear.
Paul wandering around in his house going, come on.
Oh my God. I thought I hit rock bottom with that, but you all done. You've beaten it.
No, so let's not escape. There's something I said in the blog room yesterday post race. Lewis Hamilton has.
I don't want another burger.
No, I didn't want another burger. 6 world championships and 83. I can't do that with hands. 83 race wins is more than double the achievements of Ayrton Senna.
Wow. Jeez.
Double the amount of race wins, double the amount of world championships.
Crazy.
It's
It
a
was
hell of an achievement.
It's unfathomable, and he's still not got to Michael Schumacher's record.
No.
How?
Isn't it? Is he right? Is Lewis Hamilton the greatest British sportsman of all time? We can't say he's the greatest Formula One driver of all time, which I think he will retire being by the time when he leaves.
The problem is you can't say who is the greatest Formula One driver of all time, because
No, but you can with stats and records.
with stats and records, yeah. But every generation
Fangio was racing a different sport. So
Yeah.
every generation of car is completely different.
Yeah.
And how would Graham Hill have coped with
Absolutely.
ERS?
What I find impressive with Lewis Hamilton is his ability to focus year on year on year. I always think back to Mika Hakkinen when he did like a Sky special when he was talking about retiring, and when he stepped away from Formula One, he said, you don't understand the effort it takes to win 2 world championships.
Yeah.
And when it came to him trying to prepare for another year, he couldn't mentally prepare himself for the strain of another championship. And
The same happened to Rosberg. Of
yeah,
course.
but that did well. There's all the strain of being battered by Lewis Hamilton
Yeah.
the year after. But that doesn't seem to affect Lewis Hamilton. I don't know whether it's thirst for winning, whether it's just a confidence bordering on arrogance.
I want to
that manages to fix that.
make a point that Dan has made on the podcast many times before. I think a lot of it's to do with the evolution of sports science as well.
Yeah.
Sports psychologists are now a thing, whereas when Mika Hakkinen was, they probably would have brought in a sports psychologist if someone was, really out of form or.
But he was racing against Schumacher, and I can't imagine Schumacher saying, "You know what? winning another title would be too difficult. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Although, having said that, Schumacher's head dropped when he realised he was losing out to Alonso in Alonso's second championship year.
Alonso beat him into retirement early.
Yep. And when Schumacher came back, he was not the same driver. Not that he was he hadn't. He had too long away for that. He wasn't mentally the same driver when he came back for those 3 years with Mercedes.
But you could conceive of the same thing happening to Hamilton.
Yes, it could do.
If the Ferrari's a good car next year and Leclerc can beat him, or even if Norris started beating him, and you could imagine him going, actually no, I can't do this anymore.
I can't help think with Schumacher as well. It was because when Schumacher left, Todd was on his way out, wasn't he? Braun was on his way out.
Yeah.
And Schumacher might have realised that Ferrari
the
unit
team was over. Yeah.
the band's not getting back together here.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when people talk about Toto Wolff maybe leaving Mercedes like sooner rather than later. I think that would be a huge dent maybe in the Mercedes armour, because he does seem to. You don't think about like team bosses, but I think if there's any of the sort of current stock of team bosses, which like some people transcend the sport, I think you've got Christian Horner and you've got Toto Wolff. That are two real standout team bosses in Formula One.
I think Toto Wolff has always been part of a solid team.
Yes.
He's not always been at Mercedes either, remember that?
No.
Yeah, but sorry, I do mean in the winning Mercedes, it's not just been Toto Wolff, it's Toto Wolff and Niki Lauda, Dieter Zetscher.
Yeah.
Now they've got James Allison.
Before James Allison, Paddy Lowe. Yeah.
So there's always been a really strong team there. And I think if you did lose Paddy Lowe, not Paddy Lowe, Toto Wolff. Told you I was having trouble talking tonight. If you did lose Toto Wolff from that team, then having lost a lot of the others, it might struggle to get back to where they were.
Well, you only need to look at what difference one person makes is the difference that Seidel's made to McLaren.
Yeah.
In such a fast time.
Yeah. He came in mid-season.
And Fred Vasseur at what is now Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that he's turned them round.
Yeah. Somebody who knows what they're doing can have a huge impact.
Now Renault just needs somebody to come in and actually be a proper team principal rather than an excuse maker in chief.
I don't know whether it'll be a good thing or a bad thing, but I would put a chunk of money on Prost being the team principal at Renault sooner rather than later.
Well, that'll happen at some point.
Well,
it's interesting what you're saying
there's more to talk about Renault later on, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying about Hamilton, whether or not he'll do. If Toto Wolff leaves, how would Mercedes function? Who would be the top dog at Mercedes then? But Lewis Hamilton's comments from yesterday were that he loves driving for Mercedes. He's been with the team since he was 13. Kind of. McLaren, Mercedes, when they were de facto
he's never driven a Formula One car that didn't have a Mercedes engine in it.
He's always had a Mercedes badge on him when he's coming up through the junior formula as well. And he said he doesn't see any reason to leave, and is looking forward to 2021 regulations when they come in. Wants to know what the challenge is going to be, and
his wording of that was really interesting, because I can't remember if this was it verbatim or not, but he said he's looking forward to 2021 regulations, how that affects Formula One, and how he needs to prepare to dominate the next phase of Formula One.
24-time world champion, 57-year-old Lewis Hamilton.
Him and Kimi both driving around in cars sponsored by Synatogen. I guess that just leaves Rockstars and Wankers of the Week.
Rockstars got to be Mercedes.
All round.
The engineered a 1-2 finish in a world championship when, at some point it didn't really look like they could.
I think Ferrari you could put down as wankers of the weekend,
because they should have engineered a 1-2 finish and
couldn't.
Jolyon Palmer said a great thing on the BBC qualifying show,
Put him behind a wheel, you can't stand him. Put him behind a microphone, you're a fucking hype man.
No, he's the best pundit.
I know.
Yeah, he is Formula One's best pundit now. But he turned around and said when he was asked, "Oh, do you think Vettel could win the race?" He said, "Of course they can't win the race." He said Ferrari can't manage to win a race when they lock out the front row. They're not going to manage to win a race when there's already a Mercedes in front of them. And he was quite right.
Yeah. Yeah, Ferrari are the architects of their own downfall every single time. I've been watching Formula One since the early 90s, and in the early 90s, Ferrari were shite.
Yeah.
With a driver lineup that should have done a damn sight better.
Yeah. I'd argue that at certain points of if you look at the last 3 years of Ferrari, I think the lowest points for Ferrari now are as bad as those low points.
I don't know. I mean, this was the days when Ferrari were like the second to worst team in Formula One. The car was just terrible, but you still had a huge fan base because Ferrari. Yeah. And the first Ferrari win I can remember was when Alesi won in Canada in '95.
His win.
Yeah, his only win.
Now that is a driver that never showed his true potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the following year, obviously Schumacher joined with Irvine at Ferrari, and that started the whole Schumacher era off. But that, that's when Ferrari started winning, and people forget that there have been times when Ferrari have been really terrible.
They've been midfield and also runs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, memory's really short in Formula One. People will cancel McLaren out when you think that it was only a few years ago when they came out with Hakkinen and Coulthard and lapped the field.
Yeah. In those days as well, when Ferrari were terrible, Williams and McLaren were fighting each other for championships.
Yeah. And inadvertently invented the drive-through penalty, don't forget.
Yes.
Yeah, they did actually invent the drive-through penalty,
Any other honourable or dishonourable mentions?
Haas looked like wankers at the home Grand Prix.
Did look like wankers, complete wankers.
The fans looked like Rockstars because it was the biggest turnout for a US Grand Prix since it's been staged at the Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah.
So massive Rockstars, Circuit of the Americas, and all the fans for attending.
Yeah. And the Grand Prix, it's one of the best on the calendar.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It really is. Even though
in terms of atmosphere as well as in terms of racing,
I think it's the race I want to go to more than any other race.
Same here.
Yeah,
I would go with that.
Are we going to start the crowdfunder for next year to get us there?
Absolutely.
There's a few extra Rockstar mentions I want to throw out. Everyone that sent us photos over the course of the weekend that was there, especially Carol B and John Tripp, who were there wearing their 3Legs4Wheels t-shirts.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Mike McPherson for everything that he sent us through, including the video that he did with Sean.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
That's going to go on the YouTube channel tomorrow.
That was hilarious.
Virtual Statman Sean, we should probably point
Virtual
out.
Statman Sean.
Yeah.
Also, thanks to Sean for sending us a lot of tweets over the weekend with everything that was going on. And I mean the list of people that were sending photos. Taylor Mazeroom sent a photo when she collared Danny Rick in downtown Austin Sunday night.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That's
I think I did retweet
didn't ask him
that
to
one.
come on the show though, did she?
No, Taylor, come on up your game for next time.
B-.
must try harder.
Could Rick harder.
Oh God! You've been taking me lessons.
That was funny.
You've been taking me lessons. Yeah, too many people to mention just for all the photos that you sent through. I'm going to get all these downloaded and put a gallery up on the site because a lot of people sent through a hell of a lot of great photos.
Yeah.
So
good, and thank you for all your content. I mean, just imagine if we tried this I think a few years ago, so long-time listeners will remember this. But just imagine if next year at the US Grand Prix we do our podcast from a venue in Austin, and you're all sat in the same venue, and you're sat in the same venue. We do it on the YouTube as well, of course we do. But you're all sat in the same venue as us, watching us do the podcast, chipping in maybe with a few comments here.
Yeah.
All the YouTubers are in the virtual blog room right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they are. But I mean,
but to be actually there,
to be actually in Austin,
close enough, I can smell you.
Yeah.
And he probably will. You've fallen asleep. Shall we look at the predictions?
Why not?
Who got what right?
Let's not thinking about it.
I don't think I did
Dan,
well.
why not?
I don't think I predicted
I definitely
all
didn't
that
check
well.
Does that mean we should start with Dan?
I think we should start with Dan based on that because Dan went for a Hamilton win, Vettel second, and Leclerc third. Enjoy your point.
Yay! It didn't sound stupid before the race.
It didn't.
Anyway.
I think I went for something similar to Dan, didn't I?
You did twice as good as Dan because you went for a Hamilton win, Vettel second, and Bottas third.
2 points.
2 points. Sean went for a Hamilton win, Bottas second, and Vettel third. Also 2 points. Guest predictor last week was Amos Menin, photographer, filmmaker, general motorsport fan.
Let me guess, they did really well.
Didn't win.
Oh, right, okay.
He went for a Hamilton win, Leclerc second, and Verstappen third. 4 points. And we have an actual tie for first this week because me and Chris went for the same predictions.
Yes.
Both went for a Bottas win, Hamilton second, Vettel third.
That Bottas win, it seemed ridiculous last week when you
Yeah, I
said
know.
You
told
the
us.
grief you gave us for saying it.
I'm
The
amazed.
reason I thought Bottas was going to win the race was because I thought he was literally going all out to prevent this championship from being won in Austin. He tried, but Lewis did what he needed to do as well. So congratulations.
See if
to
he'd
Lewis.
done that in like Australia.
which he won.
He did.
Which he won.
No, but then carried that through the season. No, but carried it through the season.
Yeah.
You might have had a different year.
He finished miles ahead of anyone else in Australia.
If he won more races, he might have done better in the
Yeah.
championship.
I think so. I think that might be what he's doing wrong.
Top class insight there.
that's the
You've been
punditry
taking
they're
lessons
here
from. You've not been taking lessons from Paul, have you? You've
Yes.
been taking lessons.
All
from,
of the lessons.
from fake Ted Kravitz on
Yes.
Twitter. If Bottas had done better this season, he might be champion.
Fake Ted Kravitz profile is fucking brilliant.
If you're on Twitter and you don't follow fake Ted Kravitz, go and do so. It's very funny.
Again,
His technical analysis when things go wrong as well, like pointing at Magnussen's car, this should be on the circuit.
yeah. And again, he did Vettel's one with a big ring around the broken rear wheel.
This is broken.
Broken. It's so simple. It's so simple and
I know,
hilarious.
but you can almost predict it, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Shall we do some news?
Yeah, there's a little
Do
bit
it.
news to rattle through, isn't
Well,
there?
there's all the 2021 rules, which, contrary to popular belief, is happening.
Yeah.
We've been saying all along that 2021 was happening in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
As it turns out, it's happening on time.
Yeah.
It's happening
Hooray.
on time, and the FIA have basically said, yeah, go ahead, do those rules, and Formula One have been like, okay, we will, and if any teams don't like it, now's the time to say so.
And go form your own series with blackjack and hookers.
Yeah, but nobody has turned around and said, absolutely not, these rules are ridiculous.
I think it would be for any team now to try and block that, considering it is almost universally like praised by like industry people and fans alike. What it would be a PR disaster, because that it said teams, say it was Mercedes and Ferrari again, like because they're the ones that theoretically have the most to lose.
Yeah.
They were the ones that said, "Oh no, we don't think it's good enough to Formula One we don't think it's good for the future of Formula One."
Mm-hmm.
How would you spin that to make it sound reasonable without making it sound like you were scared?
Well, what you
Ferrari, hold my beer.
Yeah, no, but I don't think it's possible for them to do it.
But what you
Ferrari are in a worse position because, as part of the World Motorsport Council, they have voted in favour of these rules.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then
So
if
they
they
can't-
turn around and veto it on the F1 side,
Yeah. Well, what Lee said before the podcast, I think, is more standout than anything. Is that I think Formula One have gone out there and gone public with this and been like, "This is how it's going, and these are the rules."
Yeah.
And nearly everyone's agreed. Now Ferrari will look like the wankers if they
Yeah.
turn around and go, "No, actually."
this will
I don't just mean Ferrari, but I do mean Ferrari.
They've got the most to lose in this, because we keep saying it time and time again when we talk about Ferrari. Ferrari don't sell cars; they sell a lifestyle.
They sell
So-
cufflinks.
Yeah, but so if you turn off like a load of Ferrari fans that aren't Italian, for instance, because they will be faithful to the end no matter what. But if you turn all these people off, which are usually there waving the Ferrari flags and stuff like that, that's what'll hurt Ferrari.
As far as the technical side goes, we've got Scarbs on next week.
Yeah, he can tell us about it.
So he will be able to go through all the technical side of things and explain things in a way that we really couldn't.
So if you have any technical questions about the 2021 rules and you think that we might forget to ask Craig Scarborough or he might not cover it, you can email them to us.
Yep, 3legs4wheels at gmail.com, or drop us a message on Twitter at 3legs4wheels, and we'll ask Scarbs some of the best ones.
Hashtag it, Scarbs 2021.
No, send it as a DM, then you don't need to hashtag it.
Yeah, I could get lost in the DMs. We get lots of them.
I've got special Twitter software that lets me make lists of DMs.
Ooh.
Don't forget, I used to be a social media amateur professional. Oh no, it's professional when you get paid. Amateur.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have a bit of a technical show next week because we haven't had one for a while. In fact, we haven't had one since the last time Scarbs was on,
Which was summer break.
which was. Right, big news in Indianapolis today. Penske, or a division of Penske, the IndyCar team, have bought IndyCar.
The whole thing.
The whole shebang. All of IndyCar and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Is this like when Bernie, who owned Brabham, took over Formula One?
Possibly.
Although he didn't get a circuit with it.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know what Penske's plans are. Does anyone know what they are? Why they've done that?
No idea, because I mean, it's been certainly the circuit has been in the Hulman/George family for God knows how long, and it was the owner of Indianapolis that set up the current IndyCar series.
Penske will be the fourth owners of the Indianapolis circuit. I can't name the other ones. Don't look at me like that.
Hulman, Tony George, and probably Hulman's dad. There's documentaries about it somewhere. So yeah, I mean, a team or a company that owns a team owning an entire series. Wait for the conflict of interest stuff to come out.
The only thing I would say is, Indy team-wise, Indy seems to work better together. You know, there doesn't seem
It's not
to
that
be
conflict of teams.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone in IndyCar's running the same chassis. They've all got the same Dallara chassis and standardised aero.
Yeah.
It's just how you set the car up, and there's only two engines. So it's
harder to give your own team the advantage.
Yeah, it's a completely different beast to the way that Formula One's run, and it works.
What, into the ground most of the time?
Usually, yes. But it'll be a good one to keep an eye on if the business model works, and then if Liberty do decide to sell up, a Ferrari going to go and put a bid in for F1?
Well, that would be not disastrous, but I can't see anyone agreeing to Ferrari taking it, because of the way Formula One works, teams would have to agree to a takeover, and I can't see any other team agreeing to Ferrari taking over the sport.
That's okay. Ferrari had vetoed their disagreement.
There was something actually about the old 2021 regs that made me think of Flood the other day, because of the open source bit. You know, there's this new open source section of,
and it should be open for everyone to see.
It's Formula Flood. So there's
we've already got ground effect.
Yeah, certain parts of the car can be built, and if by the teams, but those parts the blueprints have to be put out for everybody else. So it just as soon as they said that, I thought, wow,
I was right 2 years ago.
Everything in the 2021 regulations has been said on this podcast by some people at some point.
Mostly me.
Yeah.
Ground effect.
Yeah.
In
Venturi tunnels.
Yeah. In.
Yeah. Formula Flood.
Blueprints. Blueprints.
Yeah.
Blueprints being made available, not publicly because we don't need to see them, but for other teams to look at and scrutinise and think, well, what if they've done that and we've done this? Well, then which will work better? Do you know what I mean? It's open source, as you say, and it's going to create closer and better racing. But they've got to operate still within their budget caps. That's the challenge.
Ross Brawn said it was to stop teams, as he quoted himself, he said, I've certainly taken advantage of this, because I think he was referring to the double diffuser. So where you come up with a new concept, and because it's your concept, you essentially have that advantage for an entire year.
Yeah.
And it's to stop that.
That's one thing we didn't mention, actually, the budget cap. 175 million a year, but that doesn't include driver salaries.
Or the top three people in your team.
Yeah, the top three earners in the team, and marketing and promotion and advertising as well. They don't come until 2021, which means there's no budget cap for last year. Now, what Christian Horner said at the weekend was this means there is going to be an absolute glut of development during 2020, and everyone is going to be stockpiling research and spending money on things that will be coming in 2021, but they won't be spending 2021 money on them under the salary cap. They will have already spent.
It's also
the
worth
on
pointing out that that doesn't include the TV revenue either, because that's going to be more fairly distributed.
Yeah, there's going to be some changes with the heritage payments as well, isn't there?
Yeah, that you don't just get extra money for sticking around so long.
Which I think is a good thing.
You get rewarded for doing well.
So actual prize money for being better.
Yeah, because you're going to be on TV more often, therefore you get more money.
The other thing is they've signed off the maximum 25 races a season. Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I've seen people complain about it. I think it's complaining for the sake of it. If there's 25 races, I think we'll enjoy watching 25 races.
Yeah, as a fan, I'd like to watch 25 races.
I mean, 26 weeks is 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
That's without a gap between any of those weeks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's almost
at least they're not doing a back-to-back-to-back again.
But
they've said that's never going to happen again.
I can't see how they can. They're going to have to start late January and finish in like December.
Awesome.
Yeah.
With no summer break.
I mean, don't forget the season used to start late January, when I think going back in the days of the South African Grand Prix, first few races used to be late January, early February in the Southern Hemisphere.
I do find it funny that people constantly worry about other people's families and how they get on with their own jobs and stuff like that when they work for the 8 months of like 6 months a year, whatever the calendar's over. Well, they forget that they work for 12 months of the year. So
don't forget
I have no sympathy.
A lot of the staff that travel to races do actually work in the factory during the winter as well.
Really, but these are chosen vocations.
Yeah, but they're working away from home.
Yeah, but they're chosen vocations. You've chose to get involved in that industry.
Yeah.
I don't.
But you've chosen to get involved in that industry when it was 18 races a year.
Yeah, but but then if it's something you don't want to do, then I'd imagine that you're qualified enough to go and do something else.
There are going to be a reduced number of staff at each race as well.
Yeah.
And mainly because
isn't the idea so they can have like so they can rotate them?
Rotating pool of staff. Yeah. The other thing that came through was that the design of the car is set on Friday morning, and then it's effectively parc fermé, and you can only change things that get broken between the start of FP1. Well, after the start of FP1. As soon as the car hits the track, that's it. You're locked in.
Yeah.
But then there was something about being allowed to test things for the next race as well.
They can use testing and development parts on Friday, so it might be FP2 when it's parc fermé then.
No, don't forget we are losing a day as well. The weekend's only going to be 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I love a 3-day weekend.
Oh, well, that's a 3-day week. Do you know what I mean?
3-day week plus a day's travel in there and a day's travelling back. But
I genuinely don't have any sympathy for anyone for whatever you do if you're that upset with what you're doing. Then...
What, a day's travelling there and a day's travelling back, even for Williams to Silverstone.
Yeah,
well,
they're using their own car.
Yeah, but it's for the flyaway races. You're not going home. You're going straight to the next race.
Yeah. There's people that stay in oil rigs for 6 months.
Yeah, for three or four races in a row.
I think
it's not that oil rig's not a high pressure job, but that's worked out. What I want to make sure is that all this is worked out, because what you don't want is overtired staff in somewhere that is dangerous. Do you know what I mean? Pit lane is dangerous. You don't want somebody overtired thinking a wheel is on properly, and then somebody drives off at 200 miles an hour and it goes bounces down the road because John
read the mechanic. It's not the actual schedule of the race that makes the mechanics tired. It's drinking for the other awake hours.
I keep asking Mark Priestley to come on the show, and he keeps liking the tweets when I ask him, but he never replies to them.
You should do it. It'd be ace. I'd love to get
get Mark Priestley on there. That would be fantastic.
But yeah,
Hive Mind, do your thing. At F1 Elvis.
Top and bottom of it is, if it wasn't difficult, it wouldn't be called work. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Says the guy who colours things in for a living.
Professionally. Says the guy that's been working for 2 days. In the past.
Back to the news.
decade.
I'm a consultant, it's what we do.
Renault have hired someone.
Renault have hired someone. Pat Fry is going back to the Renault team.
Well, was he part of the Renault team or was he Benetton when it was...
Pat Fry is going back to Enstone.
Yes. Pat Fry...
He was there at Benetton. I think he was there for a little bit at Lotus as well.
Might have been. He was there when it was... sorry, he's been at Williams, he's been at McLaren, he's been at Ferrari.
Manor.
And then... Was he Manor and then Ferrari or Ferrari and then Manor?
Can't remember which way around it went.
I think he stepped aside when James Allison became technical director at Ferrari. So that's...
So that would fit with him going to Manor then.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of experience and he's going to head up the technical team but not be technical director as such.
He's been a stand-in at McLaren whilst they were trying to sort out the whole James Key thing, but now James Key is in the team.
And he has to be given a lot of credit for what McLaren are this year, you'd have thought.
Yeah, you would think so. Stability more than anything. That's what Pat Fry is very good at doing, making sure everything's running as it should do consistently. James Key's now in that role at McLaren, so he's not needed there anymore. Andrea Seidel is team boss, and Renault have snapped up Pat Fry. Hopefully he can do the same job for Renault as he has done for McLaren. Get them a lot further towards the front.
I just wonder if he's there to step into Abitabull's shoes when Renault management finally gets sick of him.
Maybe.
Finally realise they can't understand him, even in France.
I hope it's a good sign that we're not going to lose Renault.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's
Renault,
promising, isn't it?
Yeah.
At least.
Renault tweeted the 2021 graphic, their car, this year's livery on a 2021 car when the rules were announced on Thursday, and said, so I'm really looking forward to this. This sounds like something that we can get our teeth into. It's like, okay, fair enough. Maybe Renault are going to stick around for a bit then.
The car turns out to be an absolute dog and then the team's up for sale by 2022.
Maybe.
We've got Renault for at least 2 more years.
Yeah, well, they've definitely got at least a driver for 2 years, haven't they? Because is Danny Rick's contract up next year?
They've got Ocon for 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They've got Ocon for next year and 2021. So.
I think Danny Rick signed a 3-year deal, so I think he's there till 2022 as well.
All right, cool. I thought it was 2, but yeah, I still think Danny Rick's going to get himself out of that contract at some point.
It's probably worth him trying 2021 with them,
You think?
see how they're doing.
You've been saying that since his front wing fell off in Australia.
I think he's made a terrible mistake. I think he's destroyed his Formula 1 career, destroyed any chance of winning the World Championship.
Don't know. It's the reason he went there is the same reason that...
I think he had 40 million reasons to go there, and none of those were a World Championship.
My God, Jason Donovan only had 10.
McLaren went with Honda for the same reason, thinking that we can't win a World Championship if we stick with this setup. He said, I can get podiums and maybe snaggle a win in a Red Bull. Said, but I've got to take a risk.
Yeah.
Risks sometimes pay off. When they don't, you look stupid. When they do, you look like a genius.
I think it
could be a rock star, could be a wanker.
Totally.
I think it'd be interesting to see where McLaren are come 2021 because
with Mercedes engines.
This whole thing of you can't win a World Championship unless you're
it was a Ron Dennisism
manufacturer, but it's fine. I'm sure there's a reason for saying it. Tell that to Red Bull. Tell it to Red Bull when they were winning World Championships.
Well, they were effectively the Renault factory team at the time, weren't they?
Effectively, but I mean, even when Renault came back into Formula 1, Red Bull was still winning World Championships with not their engine.
No. Renault,
was it not? Was it still Lotus?
No, Renault came back in 2014, which is the first hybrid car.
First hybrid.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But I still believe that the rules
2014 or 2015?
It was later because Lotus had Mercedes engines.
2015, wasn't
and
it?
Mercedes engines were the engines to have.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
2015, I think it was 2015 or 2016 even that Renault became Renault again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, Red Bull still
was the de facto.
were the factory team.
They were the McLaren Honda, the McLaren Mercedes of the time, weren't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe that doesn't ring true, but I still think with these new rules and hopefully tightening stuff together, I think it might give McLaren a chance
Yeah.
with that engine to get themselves in the mix.
Although I don't think the actual Ron Dennis quote was, "You can't win a championship unless you're a factory team." I think there was a lot more syllables in there. And
Yes, yeah.
Having the overall infrastructure where the power unit and the car is designed coincidentally with
even
each
saying
other.
Worthy is it's well not wordy enough for Ron.
No, that's true. That is true.
But boiled down, if your competitor is the guy who makes the engines, you're
You're not
screwed.
going to win.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
ideal.
Yeah, it was.
And I think that's still true, and I think that'll still be true in 2021.
Well, McLaren took a risk, didn't they? And it didn't work for them with Honda.
And they ended up having a competitor who also made their engines, but the engines that they were getting were slower than the engines that their other competitor was making, so may as well use those ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's going to take them a few years to recover from that decision. But Danny Ricciardo is another risk taker. It could, if the rules change and Renault find themselves near the front again, brilliant. But if it doesn't work out, then with a couple of years with his feet under the table at Renault and then not on it by the time the rules change, doesn't look like a great move for Danny.
Bollocks to this, I'm out of here.
Yeah, whereas you look at Lewis Hamilton. Remember all of the faces we pulled when it was announced that Hamilton was going to Mercedes.
Yeah.
What the hell's he doing
midfield
that
team
for?
at best.
Yeah, what's he? Well, they were just starting to get good at qualifying, but their race pace was rubbish.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is he doing going to Mercedes?
Mercedes were rising essentially. They were getting incrementally better all the time. Renault we've seen fail year after year after year and constantly say, oh, but next year Renault will be right up there with Red Bull. Next year, and next year never arrived.
No.
I don't see why it would arrive now.
I think it's only really the last 2 years where they've not been hitting the targets they've set for themselves and falling further behind them.
I mean, don't forget, this is I think this is the Renault year in the plan where
Championships.
it was going to be. It was either wins or championships.
Wins this year, championship next year.
And well, they're coming off the back of being best of the rest last year, and they're not going to be that this year.
No.
They're going the wrong way.
Renault were Force India.
Well, they're only
essentially.
the best of the best last year because of the Racing Point Force India thing. Well,
No,
they would have had more points anyway. But
yeah, Renault definitely were fourth.
They were, but that upset.
Even with Racing Point and Force India's points added together.
Yes, but that upset the balance in the Racing Point Force India thing. I think they still would have got fourth if they managed to keep the same team name for the whole of the year. Because there was a takeover mid-season, they had to change their name. There was a massive uncertainty, and Perez had to bail them out.
Yeah.
Mid-season. If there was stability in that team right the way through the season, I think
They would have done better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they'd have had money to spend on anything.
Yeah. But Renault were a genuine fourth, even as you say, if you add up Racing Point and Force India's points together, Renault still would have beaten them. But the inconsistency that caused.
If you hadn't have had it.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Right, bit of a jump cut coming in here for podcast listeners because I'll do Formula Lee tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So that should have picked that up.
Sorry, YouTubers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had to happen. It's the only way. It's the only way we can do it. We haven't got a clock the ball. Is it shunt time?
Might as well be.
Ah, cool. And who is this week's shunter? Shuntist? Shunterer.
This one, I think your man's put one in before. This one is from Papa Sauce.
Papa Sauce.
Yeah.
Good name.
Saying the tweets, regular tweeter as well as shunterer.
Terrible time to get back spasms. Let's go.
His real name's Matt Steele.
Okay.
Special Agent Matt Steele. It's got to be. Dan, is he a colleague of yours?
I cannot confirm or deny anything.
I was born.
Yes. Confirm that.
In 1959.
Okay.
Oh.
Not one of the best Sisters of Mercy songs.
I grew up in England along the Thames.
You mean the Thames?
Yeah.
Grew up in England along the Thames.
So
okay.
that could be anywhere from like Oxford to Essex.
Yeah.
So I am Southern.
Okay.
I'm Southern and I'm 60.
Yeah.
During World War II, my father worked on Allied trucks.
Okay.
Doesn't narrow it down.
The Queen. No. She worked.
No, she worked
She
on
worked
the
on
trucks.
She worked on the trucks.
Yeah, yeah.
I got my first exposure to motor racing in 1964. I'd like a guess, please.
I'll bet you would.
Cosworth were formed in the late 50s. I don't think they're London based or Thames based. I think they're more, strangely, Northamptonshire based.
I always thought they were sort of Essex based round the sort of Dagenham area where the Ford plant was.
No, they're not. They're not that closely tied into Ford. They were for a while, but
Northampton rings a bell.
I think they are closer to Northampton. But the first sniff of motor racing, maybe they built their first engines for racing in '64, but their first project for Formula One was actually an air screen for Van Wall, I think, but I don't know when that was. It was late 50s. Might have been
Because
50s.
Van Wall were gone by the early 60s,
Yeah.
about 62, 63, I think.
Never even heard of them.
Cosworth was a first guess.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, Cosworth guess.
Yeah.
I had a hand in the design of the Cosworth DFV F1 motor.
So, not Cosworth.
Well, they did have a hand in the design of
They
it.
were the company. I played a central role in developing up-and-coming drivers and mechanics for over 50 years.
Just thinking...
Right. It's definitely not a person then.
How close to the Thames is Brands Hatch?
It's in.
It's in Kent. It's just off the M2. The Thames does go through Kent. Well, it separates Kent from Essex.
It's not that far from. It's south, isn't it? It's.
That's south of the river.
No, I mean it's like Orping, not that far from Orpington sort of area, is
I
it?
think so, yeah.
So it's more on the Surrey side than the Thames side.
You can just about. I think it's outside of tube stations.
Yeah, it's outside the M25.
Yeah.
It's nearer the M3, isn't it?
Yeah, because you go past it on the way to the Channel Tunnel.
This is great for anyone who doesn't give a shit about British roads.
That is true.
But probably not Brands Hatch.
Brands Hatch is one of the most famous British roads. Do you need a guess on this one, or have we got another?
I'd like a guess.
Oh, God.
Tough one.
Yeah.
So they've been helping to develop drivers and mechanics since they were 10 years old.
So it's definitely a place.
If it was helping 10-year-olds drive, it would be
What
Red
about-
Bull.
What about like the London?
No, they make 10-year-old drivers redundant.
What about like the London College of Engineering? That's not like right on the bank of the Thames, is it? They send a lot of their apprentices to Formula One teams.
Good call. Yeah, go for yeah.
Is that what you're going with?
Why not?
What
Why
he
not?
said.
Yeah.
I have worked with drivers such as Ayrton Senna, Damon Hill, Nigel Mansell, Jenson Button, Kimi Räikkönen, Mark Webber and Daniel Ricciardo.
Right, okay.
But could still be a person.
I helped Jenson Button win his first world championship.
Oh, this insinuates there is another one.
That confuses me.
If it's a person,
Might not be
remember
Formula
that
One.
they're now 60 and have been helping train drivers and mechanics
For 50 years. Correct. Thank you, Dan. Yeah. Good maths.
Are you a double diffuser?
Before James Hunt was a famous racing driver, I was in a car accident with him and ended up in a lake.
Are you the Mini? He put a Mini in a lake in one of his early races.
Did he?
Yes, 60th anniversary of the Mini this year.
Ah,
Yeah, 1959 is the correct year. That's when the Mini was born. I don't know why.
I know exactly why. I'd know about it. 3 words. Steve the accountant.
Yeah. Yeah, the Mini was 1959 was the year of the Mini.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1964 Monte Carlo Rally, which is the. First
I'm going to clarify something here because I'm being updated in real time. By the way, if your icon is your dog is really gorgeous. But the Jenson Button one was. I helped Jenson Button win his first championship title.
I was going to say his first world championship because British Formula 3 and Super GT.
Was he World Kart champion though?
It with a Mini engine, possibly.
No, but I'm just saying he might be World Kart.
He may have been. No idea.
Next,
or did he do some
mini racing?
rallycross?
That was your last. That was your last clue.
That was the last clue.
So what about the Cosworth DFV thing? Mini
British Leyland?
There is a Spaffer.
No.
So it's a Ford Lotus crossover. Lotus Cosworth. Strange crossover.
There is a Spaffer.
Don't forget though, the Mini was the first car to have the engine put in laterally, which some of the components transferred over to the DFV.
I don't think anyone wants
They were not. That was not a lateral engine though.
No, but some of the workings of the Mini engine carried over to the way that the DFV was designed. I want to go for the Mini.
Do we need a Spaffer?
No, I want to do this. I want to go this one without the Spaffer.
For the Mini.
Are you the Mini?
No.
Bollocks.
Would you like the Spaffer?
Yes, please.
I raced in British Formula Ford in 1968 until my retirement in 2005.
What? Are you Van Diemen Racing Team?
I'm not. I am the Ford Kent block engine.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Ford Kent block engine.
Would not have guessed at that.
No,
Which is
you
why I
didn't.
didn't guess at that.
I have not heard of that.
I have, but I still wouldn't have guessed it. 711M block engine, probably.
It is his dog, and he said he's awesome. I agree. You have an awesome dog.
Yeah.
That was bastard hard.
I mean, I enjoy this. I enjoy real time. Shunt help.
Isn't that what you get from your carers Monday to Friday?
No, that's Valiant.
Oh, right, okay. How do you send a shunt in?
You can send me a PM on Twitter at Total Shunt. You can send me a PM on Instagram at Total Shunt. I'll probably hit up one of the Instagram ones next week because, yeah.
And you can email 3Legs4Wheels@gmail.com.
Yes, you can.
Which is also the way to send in anything, like if you've got more photos of Circuit of the Americas from the weekend that you didn't have a chance to send before. Fire them through there, and you can get us individually on Twitter.
At Flood21.
At Dan Dankleton.
At Pablo100, and Sean is at Sean Cowper. Don't forget the extra Patreon show that we do every week, which we are hopefully going to be live streaming soon.
Yeah.
Once we've found the best way to do it, because...
It's dead easy. We can do it next week if you want.
Can we do it next week?
The best way to do it is we'll do a private link for YouTube, and we'll post that up on our Patreon.
Yeah.
And then people can just go to the private link.
Right. So watch out for a message from us on Patreon next week to all the patrons.
Yeah.
And if you're not on Patreon, if you go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, you can pledge, you get the extra show, and pay for stuff like us remembering to do links.
Yes.
Yes.
And microphones and hardware. And are we back to a full complement of microphones this week?
Yes, they're all back. They're all back. Present, correct, and fixed.
And fixed.
And if you really want to, you can pay for us to go to Texas.
I think that might have to be a separate crowdfunder.
I think it might have to be separate.
Yeah. I think we'll look into that. All being well, next week we will have Craig Scarborough back on the show with us. If you're on YouTube, stick around. We'll do the usual Q&A afterwards. And if you're listening to this on audio, we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I have to use the facilities. I can't hold on for the YouTube Q&A. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Hello, YouTube people.
Let me find the comments. Refresh the page. I can move that out of the way now. Although next week we'll be doing YouTube through the main mics, so next week YouTube will be louder. Right, time to get the duck call out again. So everybody enjoy that. Well, then again, we're not going to get to see that, are we? Dwayne, I'm in Chicago and see what daily on the L trains. Funnily enough, one of my pub quiz questions that I had last week was about Chicago's L trains. It's short for elevated.
Is it?
Yes. I lead such an interesting life. Oh, God, they're talking about John Cena. Lee, you can take that one.
What are they saying about John Cena?
I know, scroll back up.
I don't care for John Cena. His cousin is June. What?
Wan Cena? No, I think it's probably pronounced Wan. They only say June over here.
Oh, yes, a good point.
I mean, my old housemate actually thought that Colombia's finest racing driver was called June Pablo Montoya. She was so, well, she still is so
And
fucking
you
mad.
were over there, but you're here
I know.
now.
I can look. I'm moving
We could do that as well.
because I can't see the comments from there.
Watch, it'll get cool in a second.
Oh, I've just seen you move on mine. Jeff, how are we? Good start to the week? Yeah, not too bad.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
Why not?
We get to do this. It's always a good start. Thing, West Coast of Canada. God, we really have a global reach.
What do you guys think of these new rules anyway? Now that we've done our little talk about it, I'm looking forward to Scarbs explaining them to us properly. Because I don't understand them. See?
Yeah, no, that was really weird because I was just watching Paul talking on YouTube and the words were coming out of your mouth.
You not got a cat with you?
No. I'm supposed to bring one in.
Not yet. We haven't been asked for one yet.
Oh, that's alright. He's run away from me anyway. He's not asleep this week.
Yeah, after what you did to him last week.
Well, he was asleep, and I just sort of picked him up and turfed him off.
Are you going to Hard Rock Hell next weekend? I would love to, Maxine, but unfortunately getting to Great Yarmouth from the Isle of Man is an absolute nightmare, and I'm gutted because Mike Munro's one of the headliners, and he is one of my favourite singers of all time.
I'm one of your heroes.
And one of my all-time heroes, and I do have a photo that I managed to get taken with him.
Who's Mike Monroe?
He used to be the lead singer of Hanoi Rock's solo act these days.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, probably through me banging on about him for the last 20
Yeah.
years. You wouldn't like him.
No, probably not. Did he wear spandex?
Not really, no.
Did he have massive hair?
Oh, really, yes.
Would he be partial to leopard print?
Yes.
Matt Steele, who I think was the...
Matt Steele, Papa Sauce, the shuntist.
I'm curious what you guys think of my movable arrow tweet.
Posted a video with
Oh.
us tagged in of 2 different frames of the Mercedes overlaid where you could see the front wing flexing.
It's allowed.
I think that's a question for Scarbs.
It is.
They are allowed a certain amount of flex.
Yeah, they are.
But
That was a hell of a lot. Did I retweet that one?
It wasn't the type of flex that the Red Bull had, though, was it? When where the difference in aero caused Vettel to crash into the side of Jenson Button when he was behind him at Spa.
Just trying to find that tweet. If I didn't retweet it, I'll put it out now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if we fire that at Scarbs and see if he can give us actual accurate information rather than uninformed speculation.
Yeah, that is one for Scarbs, totally.
I'll try. I can't bloody find it now.
Move that out of the way of your face.
Well, if we move that out of the way of my face, there's still 2 more stands for me to poke my head through.
How would Alonso be doing if he stayed at McLaren? I think he'd be...
McLaren would be 13th and 14th at the moment.
If McLaren didn't implode, I think Alonso would be doing better than Sainz is doing.
Hard to tell, really. I think he probably would have popped up with a couple of 5th places, which is what you'd expect Alonso to be able to manage. But Sainz has done that this season already. Lando should have got a 5th in Spa, apart from the breakdown.
I wouldn't have put it past Alonso sneaking the McLaren onto the podium in Germany if he'd have been in it.
Maybe. Yeah. He's a very good wet weather driver, isn't he, Fernando Alonso? He has said that his return would be almost impossible unless the 2021 rules, unless somebody else thinks his 2021 rules will bend to Fernando Alonso. That he thinks that's his only return now. If somebody goes, you know who'd be really good at these kinds of racing? Fernando Alonso.
Well, McLaren have already written off the idea of Alonso driving for them in 2021, haven't they? But I don't know how you can say that. If Alonso was available, and let's just say
Lando and Carlos are only signed up. Oh, here.
Well,
we got a podcast. We have a podcast.
Well, let's
himself
say
in.
they go like.
Why have we got more people watching now after the show when we're doing the Q&A than we had right at the end of the show?
Clearly, this is the most important part.
But you know, it's if they just happen to have a duff year, and Lando maybe. I don't think Lando's safe the way he's performing when you put him up against Sainz. You know, he needs to get on it. Like
Yeah, but he's been roughly where you'd expect a rookie to be behind somebody who's in their 5th season in Formula One.
I think compared to Sainz, he's driving like a rookie, but a good rookie.
Yeah, he's done a good job.
I don't know if that's good enough anymore for rookies because of the likes of Verstappen's and. But look what Leclerc's done, being thrown into Ferrari. I know it's his second season and stuff. If Lando isn't fully on board with Carlos next year, and he has a year similar to this year, I think he might find himself not in the McLaren in 2021.
I don't know, because he's marketable.
That's true. Yeah, he is.
And he makes Sainz more marketable.
He has done. He has done totally. Yeah, Carlos was totally relaxed being around Lando, but
don't forget, I am supporting him.
Yeah.
Totally.
His career is on a knife edge.
I think, regardless of his race results, he's a good guy to have on your team.
Maybe.
And I think he'll make the team better just by being there.
Like an anti-Alonso.
There he is.
Yeah.
Live podcast, or slightly delayed podcast.
Yeah, 20-second delay, roughly.
As Guest 5 says, he's had a lot of reliability problems and just sheer dumb bad luck.
Yeah, no, he's had a lot of problems, and I desperately want to be wrong about this, but I do think he needs to step his game up.
I think he's doing fine because I think
they're telling him to step his game up by saying, "Don't worry too much about crashing.
Just go out and
give it a go." Yeah. But I think you were saying before about it's not good enough for rookies when you look at like the likes of Verstappen. When Verstappen and Sainz were very evenly matched in that first year at Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
And Sainz is now 5 years in, and Norris is he's not quite on par with Sainz, but he's not far off.
No.
For his first year in Formula One, I think he's doing he's playing it safe, which I think is a sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
McLaren's an exception. Sorry. Verstappen's an exception.
He's not having a bad year by any stretch of
No.
That's not. But I'm just saying he's not. The results he's putting in aren't results that he can continue to do and be safe.
No,
that's the thing.
Taylor's joined us. If you missed it earlier, Taylor, you were an honorary rock star from this weekend's race for your photo with Danny Rick.
Yes,
you were. But why didn't you get him on the show? What's the deal with that?
Must try harder. You will find out your rock star grade when you listen to the whole thing back.
I think Lee graded you.
Can Williams bounce back in 2021?
Yes.
I'd love that to be able to happen.
I don't think they can
Taylor
win.
says it was on a plane when you went live.
I think they can
Fair
bounce
enough.
back in 2020. I think they can bounce back into the points in 2020 and be a proper mid-grid team.
I think McLaren and Alfa Romeo have both shown how quickly you can turn the team around.
And McLaren especially. Now, what is it, like 1.5 seconds or something?
Yeah, they're by far the most improved team this year. Guess 5, they're saying...
Whether they will or not.
Yeah.
Saying
Who knows?
Could Lando be better in qualifying? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Actually, let me just find the tweaks. I was having a conversation on Saturday about improvements over last year's times in qualifying for
the teams or the drivers?
For Austin, for the teams. It was one from Saturday.
It also depends
After
what
Q3.
McLaren think of Renault too. If McLaren, with Lando having a clean race and obviously Sainz having a knock, if McLaren think they are solidly ahead of Renault, but yet Ricciardo beat Norris, that's the sort of thing that he's going to have to watch.
Yeah, we've got the fastest McLaren this year at Austin was 2.447 seconds faster than the fastest McLaren last year.
Crazy. That's a gain, like gains.
Yeah. Not the biggest year-to-year gap I've found though. Force India between 2008 to 2009 in Belgium gained 3.124 seconds.
Yeah, but Belgium's a longer circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also went from 18th to pole position.
Yeah, that's quite a big game.
Cameron Hunt, how much have I missed? The show, mate. You've missed the whole show. That's why if you look down at the bottom it says stream started 119 minutes ago.
Well, that's a big thing to miss, Cameron. If I'm honest.
Yeah.
If only there was some other way of being able to, say, listen to it or watch it back. Oh, hang on, there is.
Yeah.
Why have we all gone quiet?
I'm waiting for more comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Waiting for some
There's no
more.
comment lag.
How many people we got watching?
31.
Hello, 31 people.
It was 25 when we actually did the wrap up.
Oh well.
We started at 44 or 46, something like that.
44. It's a magic number, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a magic number.
Good thing about YouTube live streams now is you can save all the comments during the show and play them back in real time.
Yeah.
So I was having a look through last week. So I was reading back all of Sean's stuff. Funny bugger.
Leach boy, love you all. I don't know you, so I don't know if I love you, but
Elliot Leach, he has been a shunterer before.
yeah, but it doesn't mean I love him.
You said you loved all shunterers once.
Is he a patron?
I think he might be.
Highly,
love
I'm
you.
the person who was talking about the microphone stuff with you, so you do know him.
Oh, I do. Sorry, yes. I
Come
do.
on.
It's a tough life being a minus 67 Z list celebrity, you know.
Gemma, I'm interested. Did you dip out when we started Total Shunt? Or did you just decide to leave at some point? Mid-podcast because we were boring.
We're never boring apart from those times when we are.
Apart from the times that we sat there going, we don't know who this is during Total Shunt.
Yeah.
I have no idea who this is for like 10 minutes before we asked Lee for the next clue.
Actually, Leachy boy, I put an Musty Audio up today, which is a new one, and I did a different way of uploading it, so it would be interesting to know what you thought about the audio level for that.
He's not a patron, so you don't like him anymore.
No, but he has been helping me with sound.
Yeah.
So he's wow sound.
Tyres need sorted out. Merc, Ferrari and Red Bull shouldn't be bail. I'm guessing that's an autocorrect. Able to qualify mediums. In the top 6 places while the midfield qualifying on softs behind.
Yeah.
Guest 5, your auto carrot is going critical.
Yeah, but it's that's leaning more towards what I think Lee mentioned in a podcast last one or 2 podcasts ago when Jolyon Palmer said we need to scrap this rule of having the top 10 start on whatever tyres they qualify because you're just giving the advantage to the top 10. Nobody's that's the tyres, that's the race there and then in Q2 rather than letting everybody start and choose their own strategy.
Kieran, what are you playing at?
Oh, come on, Kieran. Although Kieran had buffalo cauliflower with his Formula 1 yesterday.
It's the official Formula 1 food.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Apparently my watch couldn't find the answer to my question.
Tell me what you think about that.
Machu Picchu saying, will George Russell be world champion in the next 5 years? I don't know. If I knew that, I wouldn't be sat here.
I think somebody which has got the name of Machu Picchu, I think we could have conversations about space aliens.
Possibly.
Yeah, George Russell might be world champion in the next 5 years.
But again, if we were so confident about stuff like that, then yeah.
Probably not in a Williams.
Unlikely to be in a Williams, but I think he might end up joining Mercedes when either Lewis or Valtteri leaves.
Oh, he's definitely going to be driving a Mercedes in his future career. They wouldn't have put that much effort into him because, I mean, don't forget he said that he didn't have the budget to carry on racing, and Mercedes came to him.
Yeah.
And not only did they do that, what was it, about 5 years ago, they've kept him on their programme. And he's still a Mercedes contracted driver, even though he's driving a Williams at the minute.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt that if he carries on doing what he's doing, and he's made the comments himself this year that he's impressing the people that he needs to impress, And there's no doubt that he's going to end up in that car at some point.
Leecher boy asking there, genuine question. Do you guys think Lewis will have the motivation to go for 8 if he matches Schumi?
Oh yeah,
Guaranteed.
Almost certain, not guaranteed, but almost certain that he'll beat Schumacher's race records next year for 91 races. He's on 83.
Yeah.
He might finish the season on 83. He might win the next 2. Who knows?
I'm throwing this out there. I think Lewis Hamilton will win 10 world championships.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if he does get 8, that's not going to be him saying, right, I've beaten Schumacher, that's enough.
He's going to keep going.
Let's set a record that nobody's going to be able to beat.
Because this is the thing as well. We keep saying, well, if Mercedes can provide him the car, if Mercedes can keep providing the car, if he can continue to be the absolute cream of the driver lineup there, he can walk into any team. If Lewis Hamilton suddenly becomes available, I don't see anybody that you would keep and not take Lewis Hamilton. The only reason I think the only one would be possibly Max Verstappen, but even then I'm not sure. If you're building your fantasy team, I think you take Hamilton.
I think Red Bull might not take him because that's
Against
not what Red Bull do.
But neither was Verstappen.
Yeah, but they signed him onto the young driver program about 8 minutes before they put him in the car.
Yeah, they couldn't. It would look weird if they did that with Lewis.
Remember, he was 16 when he took an old Red Bull for a spin round somewhere. Was it Rotterdam? I think it was, and he clipped the front wing, didn't he? And that was, he was already confirmed to be in a Formula One car the following year. He'd only just turned 16, I think, at that point as well. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Maxine says, "Do you think Lewis deserves a knighthood?" I don't know what a knighthood's really worth. I mean, but you can turn them down.
Yes, I don't compared to the other people who've got them for sports. Yes, he does.
So Andy Murray, for example.
Yeah.
Well, podcast decided that the pod book is his.
Yeah.
Just don't barf on this one.
Yeah, I see. This is my thing with British sportsmen and Lewis Hamilton. I can't think of somebody. I know that we've had a lot of great sportsmen over the years, but I can't think of someone that's done what he's done to something of what the level Formula One is. It's even if you take rowing or
Olympians.
Sir Chris Hoy.
I was going to say the closest you could come to really would be Sir Steve Redgrave.
But it's such a niche thing, you know what I mean? Whereas there's a difference between that and Formula One, which is like the pinnacle of what it is. Do you know what I mean? And whereas just the fact of Formula One,
being the fastest in something made of carbon fibre, then rowing compares.
Cycling.
Yeah, but I think if you look at what Formula One is and like the talent pool that is around Formula One, it's just stunning that anybody can win multiple world championships. It's stunning that Vettel did 4. I think Lewis will retire like the greatest British sportsman of all time, the greatest Formula One sportsman of all time, and we'll be looking at him with a Tiger Woods or something like that of all-round sportsman, in a global thing. So if anyone turns around and says that Lee doesn't like Lewis Hamilton anymore, can we stop that bullshit, please?
Gemma making a good point.
If you want to turn around and say Lee doesn't like Lewis Hamilton anymore, just tweet at Dankleton.
Gemma and Maxine making a good point about the Martin Brundle saying bless him after like the 2-3 times he mentioned Michael Schumacher at the weekend. It's like, well, Michael Schumacher, bless him. It's just like, well, yeah, he's not well, but I mean, you don't have to say bless him after every time you mention his name.
Unless the latest Insider F1 update is Michael Schumacher's got a cold, so it was just in case he sneezed while
we were
talking about.
I don't know why.
That didn't work, did it?
I don't know why else you would say bless him unless he was a toddler. Or to be perfectly honest with you,
bless his little cotton socks.
Exactly, you know what I mean?
Or somebody saying something incredibly naive, and then you get bless at the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's not naive. We know Michael Schumacher's in not a great way.
I think he was trying to be nice, and he said the wrong words to be nice.
More than once.
Either that, or it's because he's eating lots of baby food. But who knows?
Lee, you are just a fanboy. You're just a Hamilton fanboy.
Massive.
But who's the greatest Formula 1 driver of all time?
Sebastian Vettel. He's worth 52 Ayrton Sennas.
Yeah. And we know that Lewis Hamilton's only worth 2
Fucking
Ayrton Sennas.
inflation. That was 48
That's
2 weeks ago.
A baker's dozen of Ayrton Sennas. 56.
Dyslexic Baker's.
Baker's dozen who can't do math. Talking of which, talking of dyslexic jokes, I out heckled a heckler the gig that I had the other week. RX bass player Phil,
Yes, Kieran.
who was completely and utterly twatted. He was trying. Various people in the crowd were trying to get us to do shouting out songs or artists that we would never do before, and Phil was shouting out, "OLA, OLA!" It was like, who are they? Dyslexic Light Orchestra.
Kieran Thompson's put a good one up here.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They never give it to the best. I swear it'll probably end up being Sir Eddie Irvine or Sir Mark Blundell. As long as it's not Sir Eddie Jordan, I don't care who they give it to.
Sir Ralph Furman.
Lord Chilton of Back Row.
If he isn't already a lord, I would be surprised.
Well, he hasn't died while racing, unlike some of Lee's jokes.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no...
Who said that? No one said that.
No, guess 5. But I mean, there's no... I know it's referencing the Schumacher thing, but I mean, there's no... There have been other sportsmen, I mean, people, and sportsmen, famous people as well. Like, nobody said Christopher Reeve, bless him, you know, after he had his accident, before he died. It was just Christopher Reeve, you know. Christopher Reeve was aware of what was going on around him. Yes, he was paralysed with the neck down. We don't know what Michael Schumacher's situation is. And
Williams tried to give him a drive.
Oh dear, Lee. No, but we don't know what Michael Schumacher's situation is. He might be in a similar situation to Christopher Reeve. We don't know.
Anyone remember that BMW advert that had various people from Williams superimposed into driving a Williams BMW? And they put Frank in there at one bit during the advert, and I thought, that's stretching it a bit.
Well, it's
Vaguely.
it is the ultimate driving machine.
Yeah, I think in Frank's case, it would have to do the driving for you. Kit might have been a better suggestion.
Yeah, probably.
What was the car? What was the advert for?
It was an advert for BMW when...
Maybe that's it.
Williams
Red Bull gives you wings, BMW gives you legs.
Guess by saying Senna, Chris Senna. Well, yeah, nobody refers to Senna. Bless him, do they?
No.
Exactly.
Well, they might do in Brazil, but we can't speak Portuguese, as has been noted.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's 11:15. I think it's probably time to call it a night for tonight.
I think so.
Time for bubbles.
I would say so. I have things to do tomorrow, including going to the sorting office and sending some beers to Kieran.
I need to put stick these on the card anyway, so keep talking to people.
Oh, we've got to keep talking.
Got to keep talking while he copies files.
You can all see Jensen, right? He's on the screen, yeah?
Any questions we missed?
Don't think we have. Doesn't getting a knighthood give you free lifetime admission to the Tower of London? Sir Gary Paffett.
Sir Gary Paffett. Who said that?
Kieran.
Yes. I love it. Sir Gary, for services to reserve driving.
No, you can't do that because when you consider that he was locked away in McLaren for long enough, I'd imagine that if he became a Sir, he'd be locked away in the Tower of London.
Reserve knight, Sir Gary Paffett. Yeah,
Matt
no, I like
Steele has an engineer race driver friend who thinks that Haas kept Grosjean because he thinks he can be one of the best single lap drivers on the grid, and they have the data and know that. They're keeping him to help sort the car. Do we have any thoughts? I think no, they're keeping him because he's got photos of Gunther Steiner.
Yeah, I think so.
Actually drinking a can of Rich Energy, and he doesn't want those to leak out.
Fucking to keep him, he must have pictures of him drinking children. Like, there's something. It has to be huge.
Oh dear. And there we go down another notch.
We didn't have a high bar to start with.
Yeah.
Look, as soon as we've got 1,000 views, I'll stop all this because we'll be monetized. I'll say cunt. It'll be the word. It'll be game over. So it stops then.
That might be game over now.
Yeah, I'm just blowing smoke in front of the lights. Let's have some kind of hazy effect. Are they copied yet?
Yes.
Cool. Cheers.
Right,
how we-
people.
There we go. There we go. This is the podcast.
Every week this happens.
What?
Podcast handover from laptop to
Yes.
SD
Yeah.
card
Laptop to SD card to wallet to
From SD
PC.
card. to your ears.
And I have a new PC, so I'll be able to I'll be able to actually
Do stuff.
tomorrow without it breaking down on me.
Well, thanks guys, and thanks for sticking around for this bit at the end. It's very nice. I
Cheers.
enjoy it.
A little bit
Yeah.
exclusive.
Thank you, everyone.
Next Monday, with added technology, we should be able to get
Okay.
calling guests on. And if you're a patron, watch out for the link. We'll send you to the exclusive Patreon only stream.
Yeah, we'll be posting that link. What about 7:30, 8:15? We'll do it first. and
Quarter
quick.
to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7:30, quarter to 8 next week.
Yeah.
So right, see you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Jensen's also waving.
And thank you.
He is washing his bits on camera.